Alrighty, folks. Good morning. It is your host, Mike from PA, and we are live on the Central Committee stream. What a day. Andrew Cuomo has dropped out. It is June 26, 2025, and we are right on track from the Mike from PA accelerationist plan. This is exactly why I didn't vote for Kamala Harris. I was an accelerationist. I did it. The pendulum is swinging back, and the party hasn't been seized by yet another corporate Democrat for another 8 years. It was 100% my plan, and I have accelerationisted my desires right into place. It was me. Ugandan solidarity with Staten Island. I'm sure this really hits. Mike, can you try to explain anti-SLAPP? Basically, a SLAPP lawsuit is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. Anti-SLAPP is basically saying, hey, this lawsuit only exists because this guy's trying to shut me up. Anti-SLAPP is a procedure to get a case that is clearly frivolous and just intended to be vexatious thrown out. Now, he's suing them in federal court under copyright instead of state court under defamation because he understands that if he did that under defamation, he would be he has nothing to say. There is no defamation, right? So he's using here's the thing about Ethan Klein, and it's very simple. He doesn't believe what he's saying. If he thought they violated his copyright, he would have filed DMCA claims against them, because that is the procedure that's set up online to create this. He skipped directly to a lawsuit because he understands that nothing they did violates copyright. The second thing is, Ethan Klein did exactly the thing he's accusing them of doing with the Content Cop. He watched the Content Cop immediately upon its release. He watched the entire thing live on his stream from the beginning to the end, and he said, that's why I'm a legend. So according to his own copyright logic, he should be sued by iDubbbz for copyright infringement. So if they're guilty of copyright infringement, he's guilty of copyright infringement. And this is called the clean hands doctrine. You are not able to violate the law in one day and then turn around and try to enforce that same law against someone else on the same fucking grounds. His logic doesn't make sense. So, and then we could get into all the other problems, the express license he gave out to everybody to do whatever they wanted with his content. Like, the filing with the Library of Congress shit is it's not a special magic that suddenly cancels it. He gave license. They relied on that license. He didn't publicly revoke that license. He might be in the wrong. There's a legal mindset. Legal mindset is a right-winger trying to curry favor with Asmongold. He's a dumb fuck. He's a stupid piece of shit. And it doesn't, and by the way, if they violated his copyright, he violated iDubbbz's copyright. You dumbass. He gave express license to anyone to take his content and react to it because he wanted to copy Hassan's Clips Industrial Complex. He literally gave express license. And if you look at Denims React, it's extremely extensive. She added hours upon hours of commentary to his shit. You're just wrong. In the announcement video for the lawsuit, every example of the streamers violating his copyright are clips of Hassan's stream. That's the other factor. He's such a dumb fuck. And just because they said, we're gonna deny him videos, so what? So fucking what? All the time when people critique things, they say, if they really hate it, I want to deny this business patronage. I want to deny this game company sales. I want to do this or that. Just because you have malicious intent to a business doesn't make it a violation. That is a polemic. That is part of fair use and critique. You unlettered swine. You dumb fuck. You people are doing cocktail napkin lawyering. You don't know what you're talking about. I've been thinking deeply about everything going on, specifically about the accusation that I'm a misogynist for suing 3 women. You are all correct. It's not been fair. That's why I've decided to add Sean DeBlack to the lawsuits for gender equality. Sean, be sure to thank all your snarker friends for the constructive advice. One of the things I would say is the reason why I didn't react to the Ethan Klein content nuke is because it was fucking boring and stupid. I reacted to clips to demonstrate why it was invalid, but I never actually reacted to the whole thing. Pepe Law owned. That's number one. Number two, it's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke. He is, and in case you're wondering why he's suing people because he's falling off and everybody hates him, and he's trying to like get wins after he probably had to shell out millions of dollars in a settlement with Kavanaugh, where he had to apologize and remove every single fucking video they ever made. So he just took a monumental L on that, and he's trying to get some sort of like redemption by bullying people that are poorer than him. Again, and the only reason he has money is because he made what amounts to a total ripoff of somebody else's content with Vape Nation. I mean, honestly, he could be sued for copyright infringement on Vape Nation. Vape Nation is a fucking ripoff. He wants the incel audience. Oh yeah, it's a Destiny play. It is an incel audience Destiny play because that's all he's got left. Every progressive is fucking done with him. Have you guys seen the shit on TikToks? Holy fucking hell. Go take a look at TikTok. I mean, like, I just made a video making fun of Ethan Klein, and it's got 85,000 views. 85,000 fucking views. And like that, like right off that,
Ethan
because people hate him. Ethan gets so much hate, it's not enough. And if you actually like go and look, like here, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Teddy Fresh, someone destroying their Teddy Fresh merch, 3.6 million views. 200,000, like this guy's fucking cooked. I might try to find Teddy Fresh merch just so I could destroy it, just so I could get 1 million fucking views. Go to the clearance sale, buy something for $1, and just destroy it for a 3 million view video. Holy fuck. Mind you, he already has your money. This is what I like to call right-wing cope. Right-wing cope is, well, he got it. He got it. Is there a reality where Gila divorces him and he leaves the internet? Yes. Just have Hassan give you some of his old shit. Did Hassan ever wear any Teddy Fresh? Like, did Hassan, even when they were friends, did Hassan ever wear Teddy Fresh? Oh no. Somebody give me a screenshot of that. Oh no. Also, chat, I want to say I'm not taking credit for this because yesterday Kaceytron's fundraiser, which I think was somewhere around, it was under 20,000. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 15,000, is now at $35,000 raised. And I can tell you right now, Kaceytron will never settle. Kaceytron will never settle. So as far, you know what I mean? Like, Kaceytron is dedicated. Kaceytron is dedicated. So, you know, I can't speak, you know, I know for a fact, I don't, you know, I haven't spoken. I want to just talk about the people that I've spoken to on this. This is not a slight toward anybody, but I've spoken with a couple people. I would only recommend people that I know for a fact will not. And that, you know, so Kaceytron's in the lead.
Since Trump's victory at last year's election.
Does anybody have Denims? So today, you know, we need to also get Denims fundraiser up as well. Hassan and Teddy Fresh. If I saw a guy leaning out of a white panel van with this shirt on, I think any father would be justified for letting the heat, you know, letting, you know what I mean? Pedo maxing. Like, that's what that shirt is. Like, oh my God. Non-score. Yeah, it's fucking non-score. Sorry, Hassan. I hate to use you as a model for that, but holy shit, that's awful. Do they do copyrighted? Do they steal other people's designs on Teddy Fresh? Maybe we should organize a copyright. We should find the brands that they're stealing from and start emailing those brands about Teddy Fresh stealing their copyright. Stealing their designs. That's a violation of copyright, by the way. You can't steal somebody else's t-shirt design. Now, it's blatantly done all the time, and it is done all the time, but typically it's done by people that are like pretty shady and small companies. But a large fashion company doing it to other large fashion companies, like, I'm pretty sure those large fashion companies would not appreciate that. We need to probably organize some sort of informational campaign and start emailing like I mean, what could he even say? Ethan and Gila have never fully admitted to actually stealing or copying a design. Yeah, I mean, we'll find out about that. We'll find out. I need to find out more. But, all this stuff's on the table as far as I'm concerned. Oh, they stole from Prada? I mean, this is blatantly stolen. Oh, Prada doesn't have any openings in the law department. We'll figure out something. All right. Okay, let's get into regular news. My general feeling. Oh, does anybody have the Denims? Oh yeah, here's the Denbo link. Thank you. Can you pin this? All right. So Denims is a little under 30K. Can we get to Denims to at least 30K this stream? And I'm not asking for a lot there. Okay, let's at least get her to 30K. Can somebody pin this? I fucking hate. Like I really want to get in contact with BDS and see if we can get them to put Teddy Fresh, which is run by a couple who constantly do pro-Israel genocide propaganda. I want to contact BDS and get them to put Teddy Fresh on the BDS list. Run by 2 Israelis as well. One of them was an IDF terrorist, and the other voluntarily moved there from the USA to colonize Palestine. That's unacceptable, if you ask me. I'd like to show you guys a nice compilation of designs that were stolen outright or plagiarized by the Zionist Teddy Fresh company that should be BDS'd. This one, obviously, this is just a straight up ripoff of the bear from this fucking like obscure PlayStation free video game cover. I bet they thought no one would ever find that one. This is just a straight up rip, like literally it's the exact same image. Again, just a stolen image traced over with like new designs, but it's pretty much the exact same. This one is Prada. They just stole a design from Prada, like 1-to-1, and they got away with it? No way. It's the same design, except they flipped like the flames around a little bit. That's it. You can just steal from Prada and get away with it? Oh, this one's exactly the same. This is just the same. Is this legal? Like, holy fuck. Well, this one's probably taken, but I mean... The answer is, like most crime... Like, here's the thing about crime. I want to explain this about crime, chat. Most of the time when criminals commit crimes, they get away with them. It's actually, if you study, it's one of the things that I studied in college, actually, was criminal deviance. Most of the time you commit crimes, you get away with them. It's actually very hard or very unlikely to get caught committing any individual crime. All right. The percentage of people that after they commit a crime get caught and then prosecuted and then punished is extremely low. Most of the time, people do not commit crimes because of their own beliefs, whether they are like morality, whether it is community feeling, whether it is like social opprobrium, whether it is obviously incorrect beliefs about the odds of getting caught, just whatever what we would just basically call a moral compass. Most people do not commit crimes intentionally against others. We just have a kind of natural aversion to harming other humans. Now, there are people that figure out that actually, in a society like ours, you could get away with it a lot, especially if you're smart. If you're smart and you cover your tracks at all, you could oftentimes be a criminal for a very long time. And most of our biggest, richest people in the world today are people who just committed crimes. They just stole shit. And they stole so much shit that they got so rich that they retroactively made their theft legal. I'm talking about Apple Computer, Bill Gates, the Uber, all that shit was blatantly illegal. Airbnb, all that shit, OpenAI, that's all massive theft and crimes happening. All right, let's be honest. So the question is this legal? No, it is not. But unless somebody goes out and enforces their rights.
It's just words, very cool. This one's kind of a stretch. This is extremely similar. Like in some of these cases, they take the idea from the design and they redo it shittily. And this is one of those cases. It's like the exact same idea. This one looks, this is taken from a fucking coloring book. They took a design from a coloring book. Oh my god, these people have no talent whatsoever. It's just theft. It's from a children's coloring book, and they put it on like this bright fucking red top. Who buys this shit? I mean, we shouldn't need BDS to get people to boycott this company. This is fucking horrible. Okay, this one is just a straight ripoff. And they carved like their own little initials, TF, into the eyes. It's exactly the same, except lowered contrast and T and F are in the eyes. I feel like to wear this sort of clothing...
I don't think it's lower contrast. I think it's lower quality printing. Like they got some like very, very cut rate Chinese printer and they just scanned it and they didn't even bother to like, you know, brighten it. Like it's just because it's a low quality counterfeit.
You would need to legitimately be like mentally a child. Like in the first place, like you should have been boycotting this by default. Just because, like, why would you wear this? What's wrong with you? This is Rick and Morty, I mean, like, having Rick and Morty designs is bad enough by itself. Stealing them is, like, even worse. This is unbelievable. But apart from that, given that Teddy Fresh is a company owned by an Israeli terrorist with an American Israeli settler at her side, two people who constantly do genocide propaganda on their show, the show, which is the only reason why their shitty clothing brand can even exist in the first place. Obviously, Gila Klein's fucking clothing brand could never ever succeed on its own based on quality.
Well, Gila Klein's clothing brand is what we call a vanity company. Basically where, like, you know, a relative of a rich person starts basically their own fucking, like, business. But it's merely to make them feel important and busy themselves. And it's usually at best break even, but more likely loses money. But it makes the other person feel important. That's the fucking clothing brand. Now, maybe Teddy Fresh made money for a while from their dumbass fucking fans, but certainly not happening anymore. If you ever see anyone wearing Teddy Fresh, you should absolutely 100% go, do you support the genocide in Israel committing against the Palestinian people? Like, I can't even imagine it. Like, a 4 million like tweet destroying Teddy Fresh clothes is fucking crazy. Mike, remember this?
My father said to me, Wyatt, you can do whatever you want to in life, but just make sure you do it well and you do it with passion. Every day I go to the office, I enjoy creating the clothes. Be bold means to me, be authentic, be real, be yourself.
Gila Klein drawings. Basically, Gila Klein is Wyatt Coke. If you don't know who this is, there is a very famous group of evil billionaires called the Koch brothers. And they're behind almost every right-wing, like, AstroTurf movement, every right-wing politician, and major political donors for the far right. And this is one of their fail sons, and he started a clothing brand. This is the advertisement for it.
Confident and always be a gentleman, but still have that tenacity that no one can take away from you. I want my shirts to be able to be worn in the boardroom or in a discoteca or a nightclub or on a yacht. I really wanted to create something that's fun, outside the box, cool, trendy, yet really bold and interesting.
Him being surrounded by models, like, really on a yacht, like, if you defend capitalism, you're not a human being. Like, you are not a human being. Like, it's actually fucking despicable that this fucking loser has all this economic power because his grandfather was like an evil lumberyard owner. Oh fuck, that's a deep cut. Thank you, chat, thank you for reminding me of the Wyatt Coke incident. Holy shit. Yeah, well, he's threatened to sue. He's threatened to sue Sean. Here's my feeling, chat. Before you donate, like, listen, I want you to know that I know that Denims would never ever settle, chat. Denims is never gonna settle, so none of the money you give to this is going to Ethan Klein in any situation, okay? And the same is true for Kaceytron. So I want you to donate. Make sure that you feel very comfortable donating, because this will all be used to be spent on litigation against Ethan Klein and then pursuing the most aggressive strategy possible. And I definitely want to get together all the creators that Ethan Klein has threatened, and we're going to start pursuing bar sanctions as well, bar complaints against his stupid West Bank settler lawyer as well. That is definitely a policy that needs to be pursued. I'm surprised SlopTubers haven't covered. SlopTubers are right-wingers, right? Like, this is part of the right-wing milieu. They don't believe in, like, anything, okay? They're just about clout and being disgusting SlopTubers. They don't give a fuck.
I've never been to a store like Dan Flash's where everything in the store I would wear. Excuse me? Dan Flash has got a new shirt in today that's $450.
What? Because the pattern's so complicated, you idiot! Oh, it costs more because of the pattern.
Yeah, and rightfully so. This one I'm wearing now, this is $150 out the door.
And this is not that complicated.
They have this one shirt that costs $1,000 because the pattern's so wild. I want that one so bad.
Mike, we have to focus.
I'm just not going to let Doug say that about Dan Flashes, that the patterns aren't complicated.
I never said that.
You said they shouldn't jack up the prices. That means that the patterns aren't complicated, and they are, even on this one, which is bargain bin.
Okay.
Still no.
Ethan Klein at Ethan. Can you imagine being Dan or AB?
That's not what Doug was saying.
Well, he kind of is, though. That's how they value the shirt. The more the lines crisscross and the patterns overlap.
Oh, man. I saw his movie chat. Fuck, what is it called? The movie. Fuck. Friendship. I enjoyed it. I would give it 1 thumbs up. You know, I enjoyed it. I feel like the tone was a little bit scattered. It was funny. It was uncomfortable in all the right ways. It felt a little stretched. So I can't say that I absolutely adored it, but it was pretty good. I definitely got some chuckles. It was pretty good. And there was a couple filler arcs in there that I don't think hit that well. Nathan Fielder type of uncomfortable? Yes. I think that's a good way to describe it. Feel free to ignore this if it's derailing, but on Eden's stream, they thought they could go through the stream intro playlist. This is Gila Klon's Instagram stories.
Before my eyes, but at least there's one huge plus. We know that the bomber was a gay woman, drone pilot, hashtag girl boss. A gay woman, drone pilot, hashtag girl boss. My kid from school, I pull up, don't see him at all. I stop the car to head inside when a black van cuts me off. An armed agent steps out of the van. Next thing I know, I'm in an ICE camp, and I won't see my son again. At least I wasn't deported by a man. Brown woman, ICE agent, hashtag girl boss. A brown woman, ICE agent, hashtag girl boss.
Okay, this is absolute fucking banger. I want to make sure that everybody fucking subscribes or at least goes and likes this fucking post because it rules. I love political music because I'm a politics autist. I'm like bobbing my head to like 8 different versions of International, Solidarity Forever, and more woman drone pilots. Okay, so good. And here you have it, chat. Just as I said yesterday. Do you guys remember my analysis from yesterday? I said Andrew Cuomo is evil, but he's smart. He's not going to just blatantly go in there. They need to evaluate it. And if it turns out that they can't do it, he will drop out. And that is what is happening. And what amounts to a fucking shock moment, Andrew Cuomo to drop New York City mayoral bid after blistering primary defeat to Zohran Mamdani. And I don't know if you guys have actually seen Eric Adams, but he's a complete fucking moron. He is dropping out. He is not running as an independent. He is giving up. He is giving in. Andrew Cuomo, no more. Andrew Cuomo will drop out of the mayor's race after his humiliating defeat against socialist Zohran Mamdani, sources told the Post, as the ex-governor's donors and backers desert him and weigh whether to boost Eric Adams. Yesterday we said, oh, I don't know if you saw this story. I tweeted about it. But a major Cuomo donor came out. Maybe I didn't tweet about it. A major Cuomo donor came out and said, I don't want you to think that my $250,000 is a sign that I'm passionate. It's just I wanted to make sure he didn't bully me when he got into power. What? And there was also a modeling done. They model that the final vote will be 56.9% Zohran, 43.1% Cuomo. I told you 1 month ago. I said, I think he's doing real. I think he might be ahead. And it was on the backs of Gen Z and millennials. My analysis was right before it happened. Even rich people feel put upon by our campaign finance system. LOL. Oh yeah, there's also a thing with Twitch where if you stream on Twitch, you are, other people could react to your shit on Twitch. That's that's part of the terms of service of Twitch. Now they can't re-stream your shit completely. They can't just make another account where they re-stream your whole VOD. But if they react to your shit that you're re-streaming on Twitch, or they take a clip from it, that you can't copyright claim that. That's part of the TOS of Twitch. There is so many. He has waived his copyrights so many times in so many ways before you even get to fair use. These comments are disgusting. Oh, better run back to Africa because that lawsuit is coming. 53 likes from Ethan Klein's audience. Black people file alert to code, instantly commits crimes. Sean, wow. You're going to be living on the front porch. Look at all these posts. The cheese man. I guess this is, wow. Don't spend your GoFundMe money on Jordans. These are the people that like Ethan Klein. DEI defendant, Israel flag, 14 likes. H3 will say, this isn't our audience, and then attribute every single thought crime towards snarkers. This is Ethan Klein's. Ethan Klein doesn't have fans. It is Sam Hyde and Destiny fans in a trench coat, which is pretty much the same thing. Let's go back to laughing at, and by the way, this is who Destiny thinks is the future of the Democratic Party. And Andrew Cuomo got absolutely fucking owned. And I want you to know something, chat. The lies about how black people aren't going to vote for progressives is going to be proven wrong very, very clearly in this election in November. Doesn't matter if they run Eric Adams or not. You're going to see, and it looks like that it actually appears that the Democratic Party is deciding to bend the knee to Zohran Mamdani. It looks like they're afraid to actually fight him because they would lose. So they're starting to bend the knee. He absolutely thrashed Cuomo. They tried he's an anti-Semite shit, and it fucking flopped. So they've got nothing.
Zohran Mamdani.
Let's fucking go. This is what I'm talking about.
Zohran Mamdani.
Yet another bank. I've been waiting my whole life for this, son. Y'all wasn't in the streets when I was waiting for this.
Zohran.
What?
Mamdani.
We're so bad.
Right. God damn it. What a bagger. Fuck. I'm learning TikTok chat. I always say mon, and then I'm like, nope, Mamdani. You gotta get it right. I constantly say it Mamdani. Mamdani. I have to constantly stop myself and correct. I don't know why my white brain just is struggling because it wants me to say Mon. Anyway, several insiders close to the Cuomo camp said Wednesday that the thrice elected Democrat will almost certainly not run in the general election as an independent candidate, seeing no path to victory. The understanding is that he's not running. Every indication is that he doesn't want to do it, and the money wouldn't be there even if he did want to do it. Said one of the sources, a leader from a prominent union. Oh yeah, all this, they're all going to bend the knee. They're all going to bend the knee because the machine relies on the Democratic Party, and they don't want the Democratic Party they don't want to expose themselves. They're going into snake in the grass mode. They're like, we don't want to admit that we're against him because then we'll get purged. So they're going into snake in the grass mode, which is congratulations to Zohran, but that means it's going to go on the even more difficult. And then it's going to be even harder to win because people, you have to start putting your people into positions of power. Cuomo's bruised backers are shifting their support to Adams or even an independent candidate after the former governor face planted. But Cuomo still insisted to the Post on Wednesday that he was waiting to see the full results of the ranked choice voting contest before making an official decision about November. I'm looking at the numbers from last night. I want to get an idea of what the general election looks like and what the landscape looks like, what the issues are, and then make the decision. The thing that you guys need to remember is that Mamdani won the difficult part, which was the primary. In New York City, the vast majority of people just vote Democrat. And so when you win the Democrat line in the primary, when you go to the general election, for people to not vote for you is incredibly difficult. And Eric Adams is not popular. So I'm not saying it's impossible for Zohran to lose. It was far more difficult for him to beat Cuomo in the primary than it is going to be to beat Eric Adams in the fucking general election. And with people like Brad Lander providing him a shield from the anti-Semitism allegations, I mean, it's fucking Jover. This is what Corbyn didn't have. Corbyn didn't have a good shield like Lander, which, as far as I'm concerned, Lander is a Zionist, and he will always be a Zionist, but he's serving as a very useful idiot for Zohran right now, and that is important. I like that I want to see more cooperation. I hope Brad Lander just gives up on the idea of like trying to defend liberal Zionism, which is dead. There are no liberal Zionists left in Israel. The idea of a two-state solution is a platitude. It's over. We need to come, the genocide in Gaza, it's just over, man. You need to move on to a one-state solution with equal rights for all. Listen to Zohran. It works in America. Why wouldn't it work there? It's one step at a time. We haven't gotten all the numbers from last night. The deadline for a candidate to decline an independent ballot line after acceptance if the nominee loses the party primary is June 27th, this Friday. Cuomo's stunning defeat to Mamdani has sparked frenzied talks among business and union leaders about whether to back the untested presumptive Democratic nominee or rally behind Adams, who's running on an independent line to be called either End Anti-Semitism or, quote, Safe and Affordable. Please run on End Anti-Semitism. Please run on End Anti-Semitism. You're trying to get Republican votes. I don't think that's a good strategy if you're trying to get Republican votes. One New York City business insider said it's unlikely the well-to-do will get behind Mamdani, who has vowed to get taxes raised on businesses and billionaires to pay for $10 billion in proposed freebies. Whether Adams receives their backing is also an open question, especially if his voters' abysmal polling doesn't improve as the general's race heats up. I think if Eric Adams is still polling awful, has to be a reckoning, the insider ominously warned. Two real estate sources said they weren't sure they would back Adams because of how poor his polling was. Guys, you have to understand, these capitalists vote. They give money for influence. The only reason they're scared of Mamdani is because they think he's not corrupt. They're scared he's not corrupt. 56 want him to resign. You can't make something out of nothing. Billionaire hedge fund titan Bill Ackman, who also backed Cuomo, is preparing to support Adams and hopes other candidates drop out to clear the lane to fight against Mamdani. They're trying to get the Republican to drop out, chat. There's a Republican, and they're pressuring him to drop out. In case you want to know who the billionaires stand with, who the centrist Democrats stand with, they're trying to get the Republican to drop out. Other business leaders told Post columnist Charles Gasparinio that Adams, despite being politically tainted goods, may well be their best option after Cuomo whiffed the primary. He got destroyed. Our best shot is Adams, said one prominent city business leader about Cuomo. I want you to understand that we are living in a class war. We are living in a class war. I want you to understand that. And centrist Democrats stand on the side of the rich. The problem in our country is that centrist Democrats are corrupt. And you can see it happening live in 1080p and 4K in New York City right now. Now, if you're a liberal, if you're an anti-Trump person, if you are a person who hates the Republican Party, your biggest enemy isn't actually the Republicans. Your biggest enemy is the centrist Democrat quizlings, the collaborators that absorb the votes of people who hate Trump and then turn it into Trump policy. And I know vote blue no matter who is cognitively simple. It's easy to remember. But the reason why we're in this mess is not because Americans are racist and sexist, or not because Americans are evil. It is because centrist Democrats make it impossible for us to create an opposition that is actually appealing to people. Vote blue no matter who, unless the blue is an anti-Zionist Muslim socialist. It only goes one way. But one well-placed business insider said that well-heeled commercial leaders, capitalists, just say capitalists. Just say capitalists. Don't use 4 words when you could say it with 1. Are unlikely to slam the door on Mamdani just yet by getting behind another candidate. Now, this reminds me, this is something that I've talked about before. There are 2 wings of capital. There is the social democratic wing of capital, and there is the Nazi exterminationalist, maximalist capitalists. All right. So you have, those are the Mercers, the Kochs, and the Elon Musks. Okay. And then you have the SocDem capitalists. Now, the difference between the SocDem capitalists and the extermination of capitalists is the SocDem capitalists realize that their position is completely worthless and they produce no value for society. And so if it means they have to pay more taxes and create social democracy, as long as capitalism continues to exist, that's a win for them. They still have yachts. They still get to do whatever the fuck they want. They still have outsized power in society, but they're willing to pay a little bit of more in taxes. They're willing to lower their amount of profit if they still can collect profit. Those are your, like, who's a good example of those type of people? There's a group called the Patriotic Millionaires. There's a group called, there's George Soros. They're still capitalists. They still hate the left, but they're willing to be like, okay, maybe we should give some concessions. Mark Cuban is more of a centrist between those 2 groups. Mark Cuban is not a social democrat. He's more of a centrist in those 2 groups. Warren Buffett is like a little bit. He's like, he speaks about giving concessions, but he's kind of doesn't really do anything to advance it. It's wait and see, the source told the Post. He does deserve the opportunity, the benefit of the doubt that he will work with business. He does deserve that. He has said he won't. I think jumping to conclusions would hurt business at this point. In other words, they're scared and they're ready to, they want to offer terms. You see how easy it is? Do you see how easy it is? People tell you like, oh, we can never get anything done. These motherfuckers are falling over themselves to surrender. A Democratic source told the Post that 2 unions are weighing throwing their weight behind Adams or Mamdani, but not a potential long shot independent mayoral bid by Cuomo. Another source from a prominent union predicted Mamdani will reap support from labor groups that had backed Cuomo. Yeah, they can't. If they try to support fucking Adams, there'll be a revolt in the union and they'll get thrown out on their ass. The rank and file will never support Adams over Mamdani. When it was Cuomo, they at least had the plausibility of saying, well, he's going to win and we want to make sure we have a guy in the room. But now that he's been fucking rejected, the union, even the business unions are going to fold. The only unions that might hang with fucking Adams are the cops and maybe the firefighters. But I would bet you the firefighters will go with Mamdani. It'll be a fight there. Unfortunately, firefighters have been absorbed. Firefighters used to be left wing, but they got absorbed in the post 9/11 first responder right wing like shit. So unfortunately, right wingers have been brain broken in America since 9/11, which sucks shit. And hopefully we could like get them back into the fold. Whether or not Adams or Mamdani, because they're not like that in like France, for example. So it is very much a like post 9/11 reality. Whether or not Adams or Mamdani scoops up the spoils, one thing is clear. Cuomo's comeback is toast. The former governor is widely seen as squandering an enormous polling lead and $25 million through an ineffectual campaign that failed to spark excitement among New Yorkers, unlike Mamdani's vigorous operation. The humiliating result. The humiliating result. This is the New York Post. Ah! Oh my God, the hype. God, how are you not hyped out of your fucking mind? A 7-point deficit to Mamdani even before ranked choice voting tabulations is likely to imperil Cuomo's past promise to run as an independent on a fight and deliver ballot line if he defeated in the primary. Cuomo reaped what he sowed, said Ken Friedman, a Democratic political operative. Another Democratic source told the Post Tuesday night that an independent Cuomo was DOA. You can't run a loser against a winner. I actually think the centrists are exhausted. They only have one bullet left in the chamber. His name is Pete Buttigieg. They only have one bullet left in the chamber, and his name is Pete Buttigieg. We have got to figure out a way to fuck him up. This YouTube shorts of yours gave me chills. Okay, well, check it out. Especially for leftists, hardest hump to get over is the idea that you could actually win. Everybody always agrees with you, but they're like, well, I don't know about other people. Leftists win when everybody looks around and sees everybody hyped up. Giving people hope is how we actually win. Especially for leftists, hardest hump to get over is the idea that you could actually win. Everybody. Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that. I firmly believe this. Do you think Obama can come in and endorse Adams? No. You guys, it would surprise me. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would surprise. You have to understand that a lot of the Democratic Party centrism is tied up to the Democratic Party brand. If centrists abandon the Democratic Party, they will have zero support. Because people do not, because then if you're running as an independent, what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to talk about ideas. And then people will look at your ideas and go, ew. A lot of the Democratic Party centrism is wrapped up in the brand of the Democratic Party. And they can point to all the progressive victories of the Democratic Party's past that they would have been against at the time if they were in power. And they can use that to give themselves credibility. If a centrist goes out of the Democratic Party, they're fucking toast. The only exception to that was in Buffalo, and I like India Walton, but her campaign wasn't strong enough to withstand this shit. If you want to know what's going on, hold on.
The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it, because we have won.
Holy shit. Outreach to Jewish community message this when it aligns with Brad Lander helped Mamdani triumph in what expected to be a closer race. His opposition to Israel won it for him? Allegations fail to resonate. I want you to understand, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that we're going to dismantle all racial prejudice, all systems of oppression. The one thing I would also encourage all of you to understand, I want you to learn dog whistles, you fucking neurodivergent leftists. For the love of God, learn dog whistling. As an example, if somebody says, I believe in Israel as a nation with equal rights for all, that means he doesn't think Israel as it exists should be legal. AKA, Israel as it is now should not exist. It's a dog whistle. It is a euphemism. You dumb fuck. Learn how to use it. It's when you take a viewpoint that, if expressed in one way, would not be supported by people, and it express it in a better way that is. It's folding in the argument for why you believe Israel should be dismantled into the argument to dismantle Israel. It's you're being more concise, you dumb fuck. I swear to God, if I hear one more person say, oh, he capitulated to Zionism, I will commit a gentle chiding. He said, I will arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he comes to New York City. You stupid fuck. That is not capitulating, you dumbass piece of shit. And it's like, he's saying, he stopped saying defund the police. He said, hold police funding stable. That's defunding the police, you dumbass. Because there's a thing called inflation. If you keep funding stable and then you take the money that would have gone to the police and put it somewhere else, you are defunding them over time. That's exactly how the right wing defunded our fucking state. That's how the right wing defunded funding for college. That's how the right wing defunded public schools. That's how the right wing defunded all sorts of programs. They did that. They held the funding stable and let inflation crank for years. That's how you defund the police. You dumb fuck. It's defunding the police. And if you take those funds and reallocate them to other shit, you have defunded them by saying something that, in a way, that people will agree with. It's called euphemisms. It's called dog whistling. You have to be smart. Like, if you can't understand that, if you want people to just posture by saying the most radical and confrontational formulation of your policies, you're not doing politics. You're doing social media signaling. Grow up. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by ultras. I don't care if you think that you're more left-wing than me. You're not. I want to actually do this shit. I want to break the power of the police unions. And we need men like Mamdani in power to do it. I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Super corrupt shit that he's going right after, which is why our city sucks shit, and he's smart enough to figure it out. I want you to explain. I want to show it to you. Here.
New York is suffering from a crisis, and it's called halalflation. Today, we're going to get to the bottom of this. How much does a plate of halal cost right now from this truck?
$10.
$10. Chicken over rice, lamb over rice, $10.
$10?
Yeah.
When you're a street vendor, you have to pay for the food, the plates. How much do you have to pay for your permit?
Before it was 22K.
17,000.
How much does a license cost if you get it from the city?
I think 400.
And who are you paying?
The permit owner.
You're not paying the city?
No.
You pay the permit owner $22,000 just so you can sell this food?
Yes.
And who is this?
A random guy.
It's not a random guy. This is the corruption that happens in the Northeast. And this happens around in Pennsylvania, it's on liquor licenses or gaming licenses. This is corruption. This is one of the best ways to do corruption, and it is all over the Northeast. Which basically what you do is you have permits. They also did it. They used to do it with taxi medallions, but Uber killed this grift. All right. They used to do it with taxi medallions as well, but the taxi medallions are worthless because of Uber. But basically what you do is I know local politicians. I bribe them money, campaign contributions. Therefore, I know, and I have the best position to own a permit. So I own the permit, and then I just hold this permit, and then I rent it to other people so they can actually do the job. I do fucking nothing but have a connect. So I'm a middleman that just scoops off money off of people that are actually driving taxis or people that are actually running these street vendors things. It's complete, pure, parasitic shit. And why does this continue to exist? Because these guys bribe local politicians. And there's not enough people that are mad about it to fix it. Mamdani is calling this type of corruption out. This is why our cities are more expensive. And it's pure rentierism. This is scam shit. This is corruption shit. And he's going right after it. This tells me he's going to be an outstanding mayor. He's going to be an excellent mayor. Because these type of behaviors are exactly what make American cities dysfunctional. And it happens all over the place. Landlords and real estate agents with like brokerage fees, all sorts of of little fees and tricks that private individuals are getting. I mean, the entire healthcare industry is basically this type of scam. He's going to be an outstanding fucking mayor.
Have you ever applied for a permit?
Yeah, I'm applied and no come anything.
It's long wait. Number 3,800 something. And
After 2 years, you're number 3,800.
yes.
These are the 4 bills that are sitting in the city council right now, which would give these vendors their own permits and make your halal more affordable. But Eric Adams hasn't said a single word about them. If you own the permit, then how much would you charge for the plate?
$7.
$8.
$8.
Would you rather pay $10 for a plate of halal or $8?
$8.
$8.
I think $8 is the way to go.
If I was the mayor, I'd be working with city council from day one to make halal $8 again.
So, how would it taste?
Tastes like $10, but it should be 8.
I want you to know something, chat, is that centrist Democrats say government doesn't work, and it's because, like Republicans, they make it that way. Local Democratic bigwigs are already signaling they'll consolidate their support behind Mamdani, despite the progressive Queen's Assemblyman's outsider status within his own party, because he already won. So they're deciding they don't want to do a civil war because they know they would lose. And right now, Mamdani's trying to win. I hope Mamdani does not give a shit and has no loyalty to these scumbags. I hope he goes absolutely nuclear next year. I hope DSA is recruiting 20 candidates for every seat in New York. They should do a full court press. You're either DSA or not. New York Rep Jerry Nadler, who had backed former City Comptroller Scott Stringer in the Democratic primary, endorsed Mamdani. New York Democratic bigwigs, Governor Kathy Hochul, Chuck Schumer, and House Hakeem Jeffries all congratulated Mamdani on his apparent victory, but notably didn't yet endorse him in November's election. Hassan is hinting that he's trying to recruit someone to challenge Torres next year. We need to find people in LA to challenge. We need to find people in LA to go after. And Hassan needs to like fundraise for some primary challenges in LA. We need to take a look at LA's maps, and we need to go and we need to find the people that are most vulnerable, and we need to go after them. You know who would be a good candidate? Don't you agree with me? I think legitimately, if we could get her to do it. Does she want to? You know she does. I would do it, but I'm a little bit too anti-Democrat party. They would just spend the entire primary going like, he hates Democrats. He didn't vote for Kamala Harris. What happens when they come after Caroline with this?
All right. I know what they want. I know what these people want.
He is the self-suck king. I don't believe this for a second. The Dems are going to Corbyn him so quick and endorse Eric Adams over him. I don't know about that, man. I think you underestimate the power. Like, I think that he won by too much. They're scared. Some of the biggest rats will definitely flee the ship. And a lot of the people that they're going to try to like fuck him over subtly, but they don't want to take this civil war on. They don't want to break out a true civil war with him as the leader. They're scared of actually fighting head to head against him because he's charismatic. Who are they going to put up? They'll lose. Wally, my general feeling is, and I hope your friend does okay, is that unless I know the person myself, I don't really let GoFundMe's happen just because I want to vet them, and there's a lot of GoFundMe fraud. So I tend to just not allow that as a rule in general. Just to tell you that, because I don't want people to lose their money to fraudulent shit. Look how scared the Albany clique is. Senator Gillibrand is asked about Mamdani. I vote in Albany, she replies. We need to get her the fuck out of office. All right, MSNBC. Let's go watch some of the meltdowns that are going on. There's spin happening. They're trying to say, no, it wasn't because he was a Democratic Socialist. It's because he's hot. And Cuomo was just so bad. You know, it's not because of his policies. It's because he's hot.
Track to the Democratic nomination for the New York City mayor after last night he absolutely romped a field of prominent, well-funded Democratic leaders, several of whom are twice his age. That includes the current mayor, Adams, and the former governor, Cuomo. A liberal surge sending shockwaves through Democratic politics in the blue city of New York and beyond.
A political upset here in New York.
Zohran Mamdani
has declared victory over former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the New York City Democratic mayoral primary.
A 33-year-old Democratic socialist who entered the race as a relatively unknown candidate, polling at about 1%.
But climbed his way up with a savvy social media strategy and progressive platform.
I think he made history last night. The question is whether or not it can stick with a general election.
Mamdani offering a very different vision and potentially a new playbook as this bold Democratic socialist in a liberal city that still has plenty of capitalists and conservatives, even who vote in Democratic politics. He also nationalized the race as a chance to take on Trump.
It's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
Now, if you haven't heard much about this liberal upstart, you're not alone. That's part of why this is such a big story, because voters in New York had not heard much about him. This 33-year-old state assemblyman was unknown to most voters as recently as last year in the city. That's evidenced by how he began polling at around 1%, which statistically is about zero, but now sailed to victory last night with 44% of the vote in New York system, which has several choices, but he had 44% of people's first choice in that system. The final tally will be formally finished next week. Mamdani beat Cuomo by about 8 points, which is remarkable when you consider Cuomo's coming off holding a higher statewide office, and his family's been famous in New York Democratic politics for 30 years. He's conceded, and he's going to decide whether to run separately in the general. Now, Mamdani's win came with enthusiasm. Early voting more than doubled, with a huge influx of young voters who got engaged in what is still an obscure off-year primary, with more people in their 20s and early 30s casting ballots than any other group. That's unusual and is something Democrats need to replicate, no matter how they do it. The Times reports the candidate was relentlessly on message on affordability in a city where it is expensive just to work or live, let alone try to build a better life. This was an individual who, in a non-defensive way, was pushing his own viral messaging. A lot of young people found it compelling and authentic. It translated to votes. All of this percolating online.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Gracias por venir.
Let's elect Zohran the next mayor of New York.
All right, you gonna look out for us?
Absolutely.
The heights, the hood. That's what it is.
Running to freeze the red. We have now been walking for probably about 6 hours. Endorsed by
Emily Radkowski.
And you.
I love it. I love it.
Knows his stats.
Those are from the official campaign account. Mamdani using social media at regular events with canvassing rallies. There's no discussion anymore among serious political people about either or. Go door to door, or do you go digital? But a lot of the winning campaigns are doing both. And that's nonpartisan, because Trump certainly had a ground game with money and a heck of a lot of stuff they were doing online. Mamdani confronted Cuomo, both in formal events, but then used a mayoral debate that not many people watched to boost his key moment. One account noting it got over 10 million views, more people seeing his chosen moment than the whole debate in the primary. The other part of this is an old story. Sometimes when Democrats find new voices, whether they are elderly new voices like Bernie Sanders or truly young new voices, they seem
elderly. Google Trends for the past 5 years is Zohran versus Pete Buttigieg. I mean, okay, I want you to understand. I don't know how many times I have to be right before you people just understand that I know this shit better than you on this. Like, don't even try to bother disputing me. It is going to be AOC versus Pete Buttigieg. Go ahead and clip this, and you can show it to me in 3 fucking years, okay? Our enemy is Pete Buttigieg. If you don't understand that, you're dumber than dirt. You know, all the other also-rans, they don't have charisma. It's not going to be dumb fuck from Kentucky. It's not going to be Trump's sidekick from Michigan. It's going to be Pete Buttigieg versus AOC. That is 2028. Don't bother disputing this with me, because it'll be a waste of time for all of us. He's the only guy who has polling, and he's the only guy who can speak coherently in a way that libs like. Do I see AOC running? Yes. Bashir supremacy. I think people who like Bashir legitimately are not very bright. And I don't say that to be mean, but if you consider yourself a left winger and you like Andy Bashir, you're dim. Like, it's fine to be like, good job not throwing trans kids under the bus. But like, if you think he's a left winger, you're dumb. And yes, two cheers for not immediately throwing trans kids under the bus like the rest of the centrist Democrats. But he is a centrist Democrat. Get your shit together. He's not one of us. Did you not just see what happened when one of us runs? When Zohran wins, and you're saying Andy Bashir? What the fuck's wrong with you? Stop being a fucking internet Democrat, you fucking losers. Jesus Christ. How the fuck are you like this? I know I am a radical left winger, out of touch with normal people, but sometimes there's normal people shit that even I can't understand. Liking Andy Bashir is definitely up there. Have you watched him talk? He sounds like a fruity guy from the fucking Kentucky Derby. Like, he's got zero charisma. You see him wearing a fucking hat with peacock feathers. What the fuck are you talking about? Bashir is great. He's the only partially left voice of my state. No, he's not. He's a machine Democrat Nepo baby. He's Kentucky's Andrew Cuomo. Shut the fuck up with your lib cope. And by the way, we're not going to win through Kentucky. You irrelevant. You guys will be dragged along. Ever since Reconstruction, we've been dragging your asses, okay? Shut the fuck up. Your job is to help the people that are actually going to represent progress. Not try to insert some local good old boy who's corrupt as fuck. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you guys need to be talked to like adults. This is the you get talked to like adults stream. Every other stream could be the feel-good babying stream. I'm going to be the adult you get to talk to like an adult stream, where we talk about shit for real. So what do we do? Honestly, I'm not trying to be contrarian, but as someone from Kentucky, I always feel like I can't do anything since we don't matter. You do matter, and you should do things. And I'm not saying don't make a vote for Andy Bashir in Kentucky, or don't make some like intelligent moves and work with liberals when you can to, you know, head off bad outcomes. I'm not saying that, but don't try to advance your right-wing guy as the presidential candidate the days after Zohran just wins. Like, Jesus Christ. Accept that he is a bad candidate for the nation. Use fruity as an insult, though? Oh, I'm sorry. He has a little sugar in his gas tank. I'm not saying he's gay. I'm saying he has that Kentucky Mitch McConnell, like, SD way that just doesn't play well to the national audience. You know what I'm talking about. It's not gayness. It's just like a certain dandy energy that doesn't play well. It's not about being gay. It's just that Southern, like, you know, it's an aristocratic Southern plantation owner, you know, way about you. He's got a big mint julep in a copper cup, and he's wearing peacock feathers. It's not that it's gay. It's just doesn't play well to a coal miner or a guy in Pennsylvania.
In the elite and establishment circles, to be upset that someone else is trying to do something different. A lot of top Democrats in the current party were backing Cuomo. President Clinton, who had a link to the family. Prominent New York City establishment Democrats. Out-of-state Congressman Jim Clyburn, who's widely respected.
Here's a clip to explain what you mean.
Tucker Carlson. Tucker, nobody is seeing through those faggy little bow ties, honey. That's nice, because he doesn't want people to think he's gay, but he's still doing the faggy little bow ties. So I would say, Tucker, keep at it, brother. No one's suspecting a thing. Keep wearing those faggy little bow ties and doing that coiffed little haircut.
And is it okay to say the F word like that?
Oh, of course.
Why?
Well, because he's being faggy.
Okay. And what does that mean?
You know what it means, Z-Way. Why don't you tell me what it means? What does being faggy mean, Z-Way?
I don't know. I've never heard that word before in my life.
Z-Way.
Caleb.
You're something else. You wanted to say it so bad.
No, I would never say that
Just
word.
for the interview. I think it would be really good for views. You're a person who understands the power of a view and a click.
That's
Why
true.
don't you say faggot
All
one
right,
time
let's
to
say it
camera?
the count of three. Ready?
1, 2, 3. I thought you were braver than that. I really did. Tucker Carlson. Tucker.
This is the only time I wish I was a little fruity with it, you know? I wish I was bi. I really do. I would be getting banger views, man. Holy shit, would I be getting banger views. But out of respect, I will not. Mike isn't bi. I'm sure I could lawyer myself into claiming to be pan. Like, I could lawyer myself into saying I was pansexual. And then I don't, but I feel like I don't have the pass if I do that. You know what I mean? LOL, that's not how it works. That's exactly how it works. That's exactly how it works. But I'm an authentic person who doesn't lie. I don't lie about myself, okay? You're looking for the term Charleston dandy. Exactly. Would I ever have kids? Maybe. It's not in my short or medium term. I might do the Sam Cedar special where you're like 48 and you have a kid. Like I could totally do the like you know what I mean? Will's dad had him in his 70s. Okay, that's diabolical. Okay, that's diabolical. I don't want to do that. Calling that the Sam Cedar special is insane. What? He lives the lifestyle I want to live. It's a compliment. That's a fucking compliment. Here's a racist defending billionaires. Okay, I don't need to see that. At your kid's graduation, they asked, which one is your grandchild? That is what I'm looking for, okay? I want my kid to go out into the world right as I'm hitting Social Security retirement age. All right? Like that, if that's the scenario, I'm good with it, okay? And honestly, it just makes sense because like you tend to have a lot more resources when you're in your 30s and 40s. So you could provide for your kid more because you're at a more mature part of your career. And then, you know, when they are launching themselves out into the world, you're kind of like slowing down your own career so you can help foster and mentor them. Having a kid at 40 something is the new fucking meta. It's the new fucking meta.
What was going with the old guard? And national Democrats, of all the things going on right now, decided they would stop Mamdani, which so far they haven't done in the primary.
Democratic leaders tried to crush Mamdani. They should have been taking notes. Oof. National Democrats, with the help of Trump donors, came together to try to stop him by funneling $25 million into the pro-Cuomo PAC. I want you guys to understand that this is what we've been talking about. I know that if you're a liberal, you have this kind of like inherent disgust of the idea that both parties are the same. And I agree with you, they're not. Not everybody in the Democratic Party is bad. In fact, a lot of good people are in the Democratic Party, but there's also a lot of corruption. And I think the biggest mistake you can make in American politics in 2025 is to look at our politics and say it's the Republicans' fault. The reality is the Republicans could not be where they are without the corruption and the quisling nature of so many national centrist Democrats. Whether they're voting for Trump's immigration bill, whether they are supporting that corrupt crypto shit, whether they're blocking the raising the minimum wage or For the People Act or admitting DC as a state or offering Puerto Rico statehood or independence. It is centrist Democrats that are behind all of these things that trip up the Democratic Party. It is centrist Democrats that allowed Republicans to gerrymander Ohio and Florida and Texas while blocking Democrats from gerrymandering California and New York in return. If we had a situation where Democrats gerrymandered California and New York the same way that Republicans gerrymandered Texas, then their Democrats would control the House right now, and they would be able to block all of Trump's shit. But centrist Democrats work with Republicans to make sure that there are fair maps in Democrat states and unfair maps in Republican states. That is why we're in this crisis. It isn't just Republicans. It is the quislings in the Democratic Party. And Zohran, Mamdani, and AOC, and Bernie Sanders have exposed that. And I know it's very frustrating to have to confront this. But if you really want to beat right wing, if you really want to beat fascism, we've got to get rid of these people in the Democratic Party. And you have to dare to dream. You have to believe again. You have to have hope again. You are the biggest impediment towards us achieving a better world. Is your lack of belief and your hatred of your fellow American and your doubt that your fellow American is progressive and good-hearted like you are in your heart of hearts. I ask you to abandon that bigotry against your fellow American. Stop believing that they won't go along with what is right. They will. You just have to offer. You just have to believe. This country isn't as racist as people say it is. This country isn't as sexist as the people say it is. But what they do demand is something to believe in. They demand hope. And if you won't give it to them, then they won't give you their vote. Now, there is a large problem with racism in this country. There's a large problem with sexism and phobia and xenophobia. And that is, there is a solid hardcore of 30%, 35% of Americans are reactionary. But they are the minority. And it's you have to believe. You are the impediment to change, not them. They are a rump. They are tiny. We beat them. We outnumber them. But you inadvertently join with them when you say it's not possible. And I hope to show you that in the coming years.
Funneling $25 million into one of those big super PACs for Cuomo. The Times reporting on that failed effort. Elected Democrats also said Mamdani is too extreme. Well, the voters will decide that over time. They cited, of course, the liberal economics, but that's something that Bernie and AOC have found has national support, and foreign policy views that include strong criticism of the Israeli government. Now, foreign policy is not part of being mayor officially, but for many administrations, many mayors have talked about that or traveled to Israel in this city with many Jewish voters who also have diverse views on the topic. Obama campaign guru David Axelrod said the views on Israel may force some national Democrats into an uncomfortable position. Politico reports he also could become a boogeyman to the Republican Party that wants to paint opponents as radical. And then you have the messaging at Fox News.
Honestly, it's going to happen no matter what you say. So if you try to run away from Mamdani, all that will happen is the Democratic Party brand will be undermined because you people are giving you're giving voice to Republican talking points. You're validating Republican talking points. Now, why would you do that? Ask yourself why somebody would do that. The answer is they align with Republicans. That's their goal. We've got to throw them out. Donald Trump didn't win power by reaching across the aisle. He won by pumping his base with red meat and demoralizing his opposition. We should do the same, except for good.
Soon, America's biggest city could have a mayor who is not only a self-proclaimed socialist, I mean radical socialist.
There are a lot of people out there that are looking at this and saying, this is the end for me in New York City.
A guy like Mamdani and his radical socialist views running this city.
This is terrible for Americans. He wants free buses, no-cost childcare, baby baskets to newborns. So that's what he stands for. Pretty scary.
If you think the city's bad right now, just imagine if he gets into office.
And yet, if you take some of the things that were just said without the scary tone and the word scary, apparently a high turnout election in New York City, which has a very informed electorate, by the way, didn't find free buses scary. Republicans are giving free tax cuts out to some of the richest people in the country. And budgeting is all about priorities. Is it scary in a city with all kinds of crowds and public transportation conflicts to subsidize some free bus rides? Bernie and AOC are not everyone's cup of tea in the Democratic Party, but they have represented a growing interest in taking on corporations and the MAGA bro tech corporate alliance in ways that have galvanized people. The message on the economy has broken through as well on non-traditional media. If you check those podcasts that sometimes support the MAGA folks, there's even an overlap sometimes about the problems in our economy with just different ideas about how to solve it. And one of the advisors to the now leading candidate here, the likely Democratic nominee, we just get the official total next week, says Democrats for once should try embracing rather than fighting a new voice and be a little more curious about someone who was able to win in a diverse primary against a much more famous, well-funded Cuomo by offering free public services as a policy, by taking on corporations, by raising corporate taxes, and in the kind of language that might remind you of the calmer days of an earlier Democratic Party, a candidate who ran repeatedly, seemingly earnestly, on a reference to, quote, common humanity. Imagine that even in these hard, divided times.
The election in New York City this year is quite
a New York City surprise
from the
has
usual political contest between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. This is a fight against a cruel, vicious, greedy political machine. We are fighting this vicious machine, whether it is the machine of Manhattan or the machine of the Bronx. We are ready to fight Mr. Curry in Manhattan and Mr. Flynn of the Bronx together or separately. And to that end, we appeal to the decent, law-abiding New York citizens who love their city to rally to the support of the entire fusion ticket. It is the only hope of rescuing and saving our New York City.
Like the left coming back. There's just something in the water. And
in a stunning victory earlier this week,
it is. There's something in the water for the left. And it's absolutely beautiful, man.
Republicans and Democrats nationwide scratching their head and talking all kinds of trash today. New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, declared victory.
Mamdani! Don't you guys love how MSNBC is just nonstop Republican politicians? Don't they give away the game? Don't they just give away the game? It's nonstop Republican fucking politicians. This is a former chair of the RNC. Like, God damn it, dude. How is somebody a centrist Democrat? I don't get it. I really don't. How can you be a centrist Democrat? Just be a Republican. I don't get it. Why would you want this? Ever. It makes no sense to me. It's crazy.
Over Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary for mayor. NBC News has not yet called this race, but Cuomo conceded after Mamdani emerged with a commanding lead. Mamdani's apparent win comes after an energized campaign that centered on the cost of living.
Each of us dreams of a New York that is more hopeful and affordable for all. And we have worked hard for our dream.
Republicans like New York Congressman Mike Lawler are already trying to make Mamdani a sort of a poster child, if you will, as a Democratic socialist for the Democratic Party. But as a political analyst and friend of the show, Tim Miller notes, one municipal primary will not make or break the revolution. Save some ammo for 2027. Joining us now is MSNBC political analyst Basil Smikle. He's a professor of practice at the School of Professional Studies at Columbia University. Very important title. And he is the former executive director of the New York State Democratic Party. Welcome, Basil.
Basil, I've got my thoughts, but let's hear yours. What do you think?
Man, listen. This was, so first of all, I think that the signs were there. Early on in the cycle, he had raised a tremendous amount of money from a large swath of New Yorkers, a lot of diverse New Yorkers. So there were signs that he would have this really good breadth of support throughout the city. But I would tell you, my sort of gut reaction is that he did something that you want campaigns to do, which is create a movement around a candidacy. And that's what he did. He talked about not necessarily being the Democrats being the anti-Trump party, but in addition to being against something, we need to be for something more. And I think that kind of language, that kind of engagement, that energy, he's 20 years younger than me. And I'm not old by any means, at least I don't think I am. And so it just represents a fresh face and a repudiation, I would say, of the Democratic establishment. He's got work to do, no question about it. But it's a really big victory for his campaign, and I think for a lot of young anti-establishment, but Democrats who were just kind of tired of the establishment Democrats.
Can I just say, Michael Steele, how nice it is to have this conversation with someone who has served as a state party chair and someone who served as a national party chair? Because I am curious your thoughts, Michael, on the extent to which you can really extrapolate out a win like this to national politics.
You can't.
My general feeling about this is like there's a reason why MSNBC's ratings have fallen into the dumper is because they operate on the old school style of politics, which is telling party loyalists what to think. That's the purpose of MSDNC. It's to say, we're going to tell you what to think because you trust us. And I think with social media and with alternative media and for the ability of people to speak back at these guys, they start to realize something. And regular people start to realize something. There are other arguments. There are other beliefs that the rich capitalist class who owns these networks don't want you to hear because they're actually right. And these people are given millions of dollars to sell you the idea that change isn't possible. That's the job. That's what they're getting paid for. Do you think anybody would watch Michael Steele? If Michael Steele had to do what I do for 1 week, the motherfucker wouldn't get a view. He would be 100 viewer Andy maximum. Nobody wants your shit. Nobody wants what you're selling. You are sitting off of the accumulated capital of decades in the past. The long tail of capital made when TV was fresh 30 fucking years ago. This fucking loser is dickless and he has absolutely no juice.
You can't. I'm sorry, people. I appreciate Basil. You know, you're my boy. I love it.
No,
This is not a movement, baby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One election, it's a municipal election, and I can tell you that there's a difference.
It's so funny to call it a municipal election when it is the largest municipal election in the entire country. That is far larger than like 30 states. Like the population of New York City is larger than like, what is it, like 35 states? 8 million people live. I mean, let's look at US states by population. And then let's say New York City population. Let's just look at it 2025. Right now, 8.48 million, according to the list of US territories and population. So 8.48. There's only 30. It's larger than 38 states and the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. It's larger than Arizona. It's larger than Massachusetts. It's larger than Maryland. It's larger than Colorado. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's only a municipal election. It's the mayor of New York motherfucking city. 38 states. This is the type of cope these propagandists have to spread. The second largest city in North America, the largest city in America. 50,000 volunteers. $1 million doors knocked.
Between a municipal election and a statewide election and a federal election, voters, there are different voters in each of those buckets. One of the problems with this movement analysis that some have been throwing out today is the fact that the turnout was low. What's your turnout here? Who are you turning out? And in any type of primary election, you're more progressive on the left and more conservative on the right. Base voters turn out. So having said all that, I don't want to take away from the importance.
Yes, because it's raining right now.
It's not, look, I'm just being realistic because this is how Democrats get themselves in the what.
Trouble. I understand.
Right?
I understand.
Because let me finish my point.
Okay,
turn it over to you.
You're raining.
I am raining because you've got to be realistic. Because
he's a Republican. He's literally a Republican. He's literally a DEI Republican. I want you to understand this. He was made the RNC chair when Obama was elected because they wanted to have the Republicans do DEI. So they put a non-qualified guy as the chair of the Republican Party because he was black so he could do racist talking points against Obama. And now he's on MSDNC telling you, don't be excited that a centrist machine was toppled. If you like Michael Steele, you are not a human being.
Everything else out here that is going on that is inconsistent or not in line with what this election is purportedly saying. So I think you need to keep that perspective. I'm not taking away from what happened here. You can build on this. But as I can tell you, as indicated by Congressman Lawler and others, there's some perils ahead if the Democrats aren't prepared to package this win in a way in that it doesn't become an anchor around their collective ankle. So, what do you say to that, Basil?
I actually agree with all of those points. Not because, and I think, look, this was an important race, and I do think he created a movement around his candidacy. But that's why I made the point that the work doesn't stop there. He didn't get a lot of African American votes, and that's a problem. That's why
he absolutely did. In fact, he was extremely popular among young black Americans, and he massively outperformed the expectations. Now, he lost by 10 points among black Americans, but I mean, at the end of the day, for a guy running against a two-term governor who's connected to all the machines, that's like this argument, by the way, will not work. This, by the way, this is pure corruption and pure lying. I want you to understand this. This is corruption and lying, because you know what's going to happen in November? Mamdani's gonna do super well in black precincts. He's gonna fucking crush. He's gonna get more votes from black people than Eric Adams did. Quote me.
You know, that's one of the
Fucking
first
loser.
things he's going to have to do is actually go out and engage those communities a lot more.
He already does. He already does. He already fucking does. And he did better with Asian voters than any Democrat has ever done in the primary. He crushed it with Latino voters. And yes, he won a lot of white men and brought a lot of white voters back. That's called winning, you fucking scum. God, I hate these people. Like, what a disgusting centrist rat.
Than he had before. And you're absolutely right. There is a lot of work that needs to be done in other cities and in other states, especially in the fact that we have a gubernatorial race next year and 2026 and New York Democratic primaries for statewide office. A lot of what happens in New York City dictates how those primaries go. Mm-hmm. So the city is going to pull her to the left. That is Governor Hochul. And that's going to create a lot of attacks from the right. That does not mean that it's impossible to get over that hump. It just means the Democrats have to be prepared for that. But I think what they would say is that they would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. They've got to be for something, and they've got to find a way to kind of capitalize on this moment and say, we did what you expected of us. We supported your incrementalism in the policy making in the past, but we've got to start focusing on what comes next. I think that's the question I think that's the point that everybody was trying to make last night. What's next?
Look, I guess I felt like I was being rained on over
this
here.
This is the Michael Steele from now on.
Michael Steele, because he was raining on the parade.
Wow, I can't believe the moderates are trying to pretend, oh, this doesn't matter. Oh, he didn't absolutely crush all our billionaire money. We were just saying the other day we need to appeal to Elon Musk. And this guy just got slapped across the fucking face. And we're going to just lie. We're going to repeat the same lies forever and ever and ever. If you believe these people, you are hopeless.
I'm just going to continue to go, but there is nobody more critical.
A parade walking in circles.
Well, let me just say, I give you the Minnesota State Senate race. I give you the Nebraska mayoral race. I give you closing the, at one point, plus 30 district in Florida that was cut down to 16. I give you the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. I give you the state Senate and state legislative race in Pennsylvania. That is the reason that the Democrats are still in control of the House in Pennsylvania. And that Minnesota State Senate race is the reason why Democrats were in charge of things in Minnesota. I say that to say that everywhere that there have been super competitive matchups since 2024, since that very fateful day, Democrats have done well. So to me, that says that in the states across the country, people are figuring out what works for them. And what people, in my opinion, and with my operative hat on, should take away from this race is that what people want is for you to knock on their door, to go everywhere, to be authentic. Do not wait for the poll-tested message, and keep it very close to what's important to them. Affordability does mean the rent is too damn high, and that's what he talked about. Now, should everybody run out and be a Democratic socialist? No, I used to work for one of them.
Mamdani is going to win the mayor of New York City, but he's not going to be the Democratic nominee. I've lived this through before. The Dems would rather take the party over giving power willingly. I regret to inform you that he won the Democratic nomination, and he will be the Democratic nominee for mayor. That's what happened on Tuesday, man. He won.
And even he ran for president as a Democrat.
And
and I tell you,
know how that turned out.
Yes, but I also worked for.
Yeah, he didn't win against a former vice president or Hillary Clinton, the former first lady. When he first ran, he took her all the way to the last primary in California, and it took centrist Voltron and luck for Joe Biden to barely beat Bernie Sanders, who came out of nowhere. Now who are you guys running? Who's the centrist? You think Pete Buttigieg? The mayor, the guy who was the mayor of the fourth largest city in Indiana and had a scandal rack term as the Treasury Secretary? He's going to be the president? Or not Treasury, transportation.
A former vice president that was elected and beat Donald Trump the first time.
But she wasn't a Democratic socialist.
But I will tell you, Michael, it's not about, please, Basil, because it's not about being a Democratic
Yes, it is.
No, it's
yes,
not.
it is.
You want it to be
seeds of
about
this.
the Democratic Socialists, but it's not about being a Democratic
the
Socialist.
the seeds of this have been planted for years. And the reason I say that is, if you look at what Bernie Sanders did in 2016, and after that, what we saw was a lot of folks that say, okay, if I'm not going to get elected to office, I'm going to start going into state parties and changing things from within. So the
Democrats will endorse Mondami and endorse Adams, but Mondami, no, they can't do that, Adam. Adam, you don't know how things work. I think you're a traumatized individual. And I don't know how to explain something to you, but it already happened. It's like saying, we'll never land on the moon. They landed on the moon. It happened. Just because you've been disappointed a lot. But he won such a landslide. He has such a popular mandate that Andrew Cuomo just dropped out of running. Like he's dropping out according to the New York Post reporting. It's over. Like he is the Democratic nominee. He will be on the Democratic Party party line. It will say Zohran Mamdani, Democratic Party. It's already over. And like, I get the feeling, but the reality is that he's got such a popular mandate, and a lot of people who didn't vote for him like him anyway. I hope you understand that. A lot of the people that voted for Cuomo because they didn't dare to dream. But now we're forcing them to dream. We're telling them it's okay to dream. And most of them, the vast, vast majority of Cuomo voters, will be marking down Zohran Mamdani on November's ballot. I want you to understand that, chat. I know you're not used to hearing me be positive. You may be shocked to hear Mike from PA is giving positive. Wait, this is good information? I'm shocked. I don't know how to take it. That's what it looks like when you win. I never promised to be dour, depressed all the time. I promised to tell you the truth. I promised to tell you the truth as I see it. That was the promise that I gave you. And maybe you were beaten down by reality the past 2 years. Who wasn't? But inside you, there is a liberal. And what would a liberal be without clinical depression? The most common fucking trait of a liberal. I want you to reach inside of your heart, and I want you to stab that liberal inside to death.
Actually seen this going back several years. Hey, if I really wanted to
David Hogg tried to do that, and that didn't turn out too well.
I go back to Howard Dean if you really want to talk about it. But I would say that the seeds of this have been planted for a long time. And the truth is, if you've got, and I have to say this, if you've got someone or candidates like Andrew Cuomo, and what he did was run a race that wasn't meant for this moment. And if you have a lot of establishment Democrats kind of going back into that old toolbox and running these older style campaigns where it seems like more of a Rose Garden strategy compared to what this next generation is doing, then you're going to have these kinds of results. Because people want their doors knocked on. People want to see energy in the street. People want you to ask questions. People want thoughtfulness. And people want big ideas. And that's why I go back to say, they would rather lose pushing that forward than think that they can win in this atmosphere of incrementalism when nothing seems to get done. And I think we're just at a point where some of us need to stand back and kind of let them cook.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
Joining me now for his first national interview since yesterday's election in New York City is Zohran Mamdani. It's great to see you. I don't know if you've slept, and I'm sure you are still processing what happened last night. A lot of people on our team stayed up and watched your speech. I just laid out how I think you garnered as much support as you did. As you've processed this, what did I miss?
I think you covered quite a bit of how we got to this point, and I think the only thing I would really add is this volunteer team that we've built of now more than 50,000 people. They are the New Yorkers for whom democracy had started to lose meaning. It started to lose its relevance to the struggles of everyday New Yorkers. And they are the ones who for so long had not seen themselves in our local politics. And yet they are also the ones who brought us to this point, who knocked on more than 1.5 million doors across the 5 boroughs and showcased that a vision for a New York City, currently the most expensive city in the United States, a vision that would make it affordable, is one that speaks not only to progressives, but speaks to New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, from Harlem to Bay Ridge, and speaks to the very fact that ultimately what city government's job is to make this city that much easier to live in and actually achieve the very dreams that brought you here in the first place.
As I'm sure you know, you probably haven't consumed all of it, I suppose, but there's been a lot of analysis, a ton, on what your success last night and in the last couple of weeks means nationally for the Democratic Party. Unquestionably, it means something about how people campaign, but what do you think it means?
I think it is part of a larger referendum on where our party goes. And I think one of the hopes that we had from the very beginning of this campaign was to move our political instinct from lecturing to listening. You know, at the national level, after the presidential election, we saw that New York was actually the state with the largest swing in the country towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points, and that swing took place far from the caricature of Trump voters, instead taking place in the hearts of immigrant New York City. And I went to those neighborhoods. I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx and Hillside Avenue in Queens, and I asked those New Yorkers, the vast majority of whom were Democrats, why they voted for Trump and what it would take to bring them back to the Democratic Party. And again, what I heard from them was cost of living, was an inability to afford the very things they recalled being able to purchase 4 years ago. And when they told me what it would take, they said again and again.
Honestly, I know this is probably not good for Zohran, but this literally sounds like Xi Jinping thought. Unironically, this is Xi Jinping thought. Xi Jinping believes that members of the cadre class of socialists should go to the people and ask them directly what they need help with, and then develop a program to solve the thing they're talking about. That is literally Xi Jinping thought. Like, literally. That's actually what they did in the anti-poverty programs in China that eliminated 800 million people out of poverty. They did exactly what he just said. That's literally Xi Jinping thought. I mean, it's Maoist. It comes from the mass line. But Xi Jinping thought is a derivative of Maoism. Xi Jinping thought is a way of synthesizing all of the previous forms of Chinese Communist Party thought. Xi Jinping thought is best thought of as a synthesis between Dengism and Maoism, which most people think is impossible. But because Xi Jinping is such a good fucking leader, he did it. As I've said before, Xi Jinping is the only true social democrat. Like, literally, Xi Jinping is the last real social democrat. And I mean it in the old school style of a form of reformism that does a transition to socialism. Like, he is literally a social democrat. Congrats on 10K. Thank you, buddy.
Relentless focus on an economic agenda. And ultimately, in listening to them, we built a campaign that was explicitly about making this city affordable. And I think too often in politics, there's a desire to impose what you think the debate is upon the people that you're seeking to represent, as opposed to listening to the very issues that are making it difficult for them to keep calling the city that they love the city that they live in.
I mean, you're running on issues that are very relevant to people in New York City, the cost of housing, free busing. Some have projected, that this is the type of platform that would work in other parts of the country. I mean, you're a proud democratic socialist. Do you think that is a platform that would work for other candidates running in other parts of the country?
Absolutely. I think ultimately this is a campaign about inequality. And you don't have to live in the most expensive city in the country to have experienced that inequality, because it's a national issue. And what Americans coast to coast are looking for are people who will fight for them, not just believe in the things that resonate with their lives, but actually fight and deliver on those very things. And part of how we got to this point was through the endorsements of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders, who've been leading this fight against oligarchy across the country. And I think that in focusing on working people and their struggles, we also return back to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats in the first place.
Let's talk a little bit about the path forward here, because you still have to win a general election, and that is going to be hard fought, which I know you know. You are on track to defeat Andrew Cuomo. He called you to concede. Afterwards, a couple of times, he seems to have floated this potential plan or consideration.
I honestly think Cuomo won't do it. You guys don't understand the political dynasties. There's other Cuomos, right? There's got to be a next generation of Cuomos. They don't want to shit on the Cuomo brand. They don't want to, like, purge it from the Democratic Party and humiliate themselves. They don't want to, like, take an L super hard. Like, what if he loses? He's cooking his brand. He thought he could win off name and recognition and money, and he failed. his smartest move is to endorse Mamdani and then behind the scenes try to sabotage him and then line up the next person in the dynasty. Like, now, he may be an egomaniac that doesn't want to do that. You know, that's what makes sense. Do you still think a new party should be formed, or does this indicate the Democratic Party can be saved? What this indicates is if you have an absolutely perfect candidate who's fucking awesome in every way, you can win as a Democrat, as an individual. This does not prove that the Democratic Party can be fixed. This is a huge W, but in my mind, it doesn't mean the Democratic Party can be fixed. That being said, the more people we elect like this as Democrats, the more people, more power we have, and the worse a damage to the Democratic Party would be. Like, if he left the Democratic Party as mayor, along with AOC and Bernie and a whole bunch of other people to start a new party, and we have the mayor of New York City, that's a much bigger, you know, much closer to success than just trying to start a new party with nobody who's in office. For a new party to work, we need people who are in office to abandon the Democrats. So this is part of creating the conditions that maybe we could do that with. I'm ambivalent. I personally evaluate the Democratic Party as too corrupt, but if it seems like we're starting to win, I'm not against going back to the Democrat. Like, I honestly don't care. I just evaluate that the Democratic Party, as it currently stands as an institution, is a complete enemy of progress.
Of running as an independent. Are you preparing for him to run as an independent in the general election, or do you think it's possible he could drop out entirely before next Tuesday?
I think that everything is possible in this race, as we've seen over many, many months. And ultimately, we are prepared for taking on whomever our opponents may be in November. Because when I started this race, I started it running against Eric Adams' second term, running to finally have a city government that sought to resolve the affordability crisis, not exacerbate it. And when Eric Adams dropped out of the Democratic primary, it was Andrew Cuomo that picked up the mantle of that second term. The same donors, the same corruption, the same small vision funded by big money. And we have now defeated that vision in this primary, and I'm prepared to defeat that vision in the general, no matter who it is that's carrying it.
If Andrew Cuomo drops out, he had a lot of big money backers. Do you think they're going to big money back Eric Adams? Is that what you're preparing for?
I think that it's possible. I also think that we have found exactly the way to defeat organized money, which is organized people. We're speaking about a scale of a campaign that we haven't seen in the city in a long time. And ultimately, we believe in a politics of no translation, one that is both direct to the struggles of working people's lives and also delivered directly. And there is nothing more direct than a New Yorker knocking on another New Yorker's door. And that has been such a key part of this campaign's ability to break through more than $30 million in.
Honestly, I think of Zohran as really such an ideal candidate. He's so fucking great.
Opposition spending, where New Yorkers were blanketed with attack ads, whether it be when they were turning on their television, their radio, opening their mailbox, or even just watching YouTube, and we were still able to triumph over that.
Both Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, obviously two Democratic leaders that have had some, I guess, nice things to say, I could describe them as, about you, but didn't endorse you and still haven't endorsed you almost 24 hours after Andrew Cuomo called you to concede. Why do you think that is?
Well, I appreciated both of their remarks, both their acknowledging of the focus of this campaign on affordability, and also with Senator Schumer having worked with him closely to deliver close to $500 million in debt relief for thousands of working-class taxi drivers, as well as successfully defeat a proposal to build a frack gas power plant in my district of Astoria in western Queens. And I think what we are seeing in this moment is an understanding of the mandate that New Yorkers have given us to deliver on this.
The thing about door knocking is it is a symptom of success, not the cause of success. I think this is the one thing that people don't understand about door knocking. And I think even leftists don't understand this about door knocking. Door knocking is a symptom of success. It is not something that gives you success. The better you're doing, the more people are passionate. The more passionate people are, the more they want to knock. The more passionate they're knocking, the more they're pushing on their social networks to support you. The more earned media you're getting, the more word of mouth you're getting. It is a symbol of success, and it gives buy-in to a campaign. And I do think that it can help you get, it can push your numbers up. In my estimation, the most that these kind of field organizing things can push your numbers up is between 4 to 7 points, which is a lot, but it's also less than you think. I just tend to think that a really robust door knocking campaign is a sign of success. And that's not necessarily what made you successful.
Affordability, and also the fact that we will wait a few more days to see the actual final results of this, although we know that we have won this race even without the assistance of ranked choice voting.
Do you, I don't think endorsements win elections necessarily, but there's not a lot of proof of that in history. But do you want their support, or do you not care if they come out and forcibly endorse you?
I want their support, and I want the support of any leader across this city and this state and this country, because ultimately what we are looking to show New Yorkers is the fact that this is an ever-expanding coalition. It's not one that is trying to keep tabs of when people join this fight. It's one that's looking to actually deliver on this fight. And what that means is ensuring we use every single tool at our disposal to freeze the rent, to make buses fast and free, and to deliver universal childcare.
I think one of the things that's really frustrating with me about the Israel shit is a lot of people seem to think
in a stunning victory
that your passionate
this week,
hatred of Israel is what's going to destroy Israel. As if through like some psychic fucking energy, you're going to put out into the universe the fact that you really hate Israel is going to destroy Israel. Like that's how Israel is going to be defeated. How Israel will be defeated is when the United, and by the way, they tell us, the Israelis say, we can only do this because America's giving us money and weapons and diplomatic help. The Israelis say, if the Americans were giving us money and diplomatic help and weapons, we wouldn't be able to do this. And then Zohran Mamdani comes out and says, we should stop giving Israel weapons, money, and diplomatic help. And then people go, he doesn't want to stop Israel. He needs to say, destroy Israel. And it's like, he's saying to do the thing that the Israelis say will fuck them over. And you're like, well, he's not saying it meanly enough. It's like, bitch, it's called a dog whistle. It's called a euphemism. When the Nazis were killing people in the Holocaust, like, goddamn, do you think they went, we're doing the women and children killing machine? Even they were euphemism. It's like like this ultras are trying to do some sort of like thing where, oh, you have to say the thing in the least appealing way possible. It's like, he's saying, I support the policies that will stop Israel from being an apartheid state doing genocide. He's saying, I'm going to keep funding for cops flat, which, in case you don't know, is defunding the police. That's what defunding is. If you don't raise the spending for the cops every year, you're defunding the cops. He is doing defund the police when he says, hold it flat. He's just saying it in a way that regular people will understand. It's called a dog whistle. So if I see any of you dumb pieces of shit attacking his dog whistles as not being pure enough, you're stupid. Shut up. How will you get the taxes up? The same way de Blasio did. De Blasio got pre-K by saying, I'm going to do pre-K. And then de Blasio started yelling at all of the centrist Democrats in Albany that weren't giving him pre-K, and they were scared of getting primaried. And so they gave him it. That's the same way Zohran's going to do it. Zohran's going to say, hey, I want to do free childcare, but this person won't do it. This person won't do it. This person won't do it. And they will get primaried and they'll get scared, so they'll vote for it. It's called politics. This is one of the worst things about politics is the idea that you know what is politically plausible. You have no fucking idea what's politically plausible. If I had told you a Democratic Socialist was going to crush Andrew Cuomo by 17 points, or 13 points, excuse me, 13.8 points, a month ago, you would have fucking lost your mind. You have no idea what's politically plausible, and I need you to stop saying that you do. Shut the fuck up. Start arguing for what is right and what is good and what is logical, and stop talking in that way. It's cuck energy. It's loser energy. Stop being a fucking loser.
33-year-old Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani won the Democratic primary in the race to be mayor of New York City, sending shockwaves through the Democratic Party across the country. Mamdani was the top choice of 43.5% of Democratic primary voters in New York's ranked choice system. He defeated former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who conceded the race Tuesday night. If Zohran Mamdani wins in the general election in November, he will be the city's youngest mayor in over a century, as well as the first Muslim mayor of New York. He won with an energetic campaign that brought in tens of thousands of volunteers and a laser focus on the issue of affordability.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. One where those who toil in the night can enjoy the fruits of their labor in the day.
By the way, that's out of the International. Like, guys, this is so crazy that people are, man, ultras really are the scum of the earth, man. They really are the worst. Fucking hate them, man. I really do.
So why use Grammarly over ChatGPT?
Okay, be quiet. Fucking. I accidentally updated my I accidentally updated my I accidentally updated my Chrome. Sorry, chat. I just false started there. And now I have ads again. Fucking Chrome, man. This is day 14 of not getting Firefox. I don't want to change browsers, man. I don't want to change browsers. Can I define ultra? An ultra is a leftist who thinks that you should say all your positions in the most annoying way possible. So instead of saying we should have Medicare for all, you should say, I will destroy the private health insurance industry and make it illegal. Instead of saying, I want to bring the troops home, you need to say, I will destroy the evil American empire. Instead of saying, I support equal rights for everyone in Israel and Palestine, you have to say, I will dismantle the Zionist entity and lead a coalition of the willing in an invasion. Instead of saying, I will arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, you have to say, I will exterminate the political class of Israel. Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's taking everything that's super popular and saying it in the dumbest way so that the most people are against it. And these people do that because it's about posturing to other leftists who already agree about how they're more pure. And this is a thing that exists and has always existed. There are people that just as soon as we start winning, they're trying to find ways that it's actually an L.
Fruits of their labor in the day. A city where they can do more than just struggle. One where those who toil in the night can enjoy the fruits of their labor in the day.
I mean, he's doing international bars. You people are fucking terrible. Anybody who doesn't like Zohran is actually a fucking moron. Legitimately a moron.
Where hard work is repaid with a stable life. Where 8 hours on the factory floor or behind the wheel of a cab is enough to pay the mortgage. It is enough to keep the lights on. It is enough to send your kid to school. Where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized. Where buses are fast and free. Where childcare doesn't cost more than CUNY. And where public safety keeps us truly safe.
Just as stunning as Zohran Mamdani's victory is the defeat of the former governor. Andrew Cuomo entered the primary as the easy front-runner with broad name recognition and the support from the largest super PAC ever in New York City mayoral primary history. The PAC, called Fix the City, shattered all previous records, raising more than $25 million to back Cuomo's attempt at a political comeback, 4 years after he resigned over sexual misconduct allegations by at least 11 women who were former staffers.
How did this earthquake, this massive upset happen? And what does it say about the Democratic Party and Democratic voters in this moment that the campaign of a Democratic socialist focused on affordability beat out such formidable establishment opponent? We're joined now by someone who's made teaching about rising inequality and its impacts on society his life work. Robert Reich has held many positions over his career: Secretary of Labor under President Bill Clinton, best-selling author, prolific creator of viral videos online, and co-founder of Inequality Media. But above all, he considers himself a teacher. He's been a professor for over 40 years. In fact, he just taught his last class, at least for now. Yes, there's a new film.
I told my grandma to vote for Zohran, and she said she didn't know who he was, and Cuomo used to be governor, so he has knowledge. She told me she didn't vote, and now she keeps asking me who Zohran is now that he's won. Yes, I know. It's a moronic criticism of Zohran, but I appreciate people like you who are not couching everything of euphemisms. Here's the thing. My job is to pressure Zohran to support good policies, and then when he does, and he speaks about those policies like a politician, which means he creates euphemistic language and dog whistles to make it as appealing as possible rhetorically to the most amount of people, it's my job to then turn around to you and go, hey, you're getting exactly what you want. You should support this guy. He fucking rules. All right, that's my job. My job is to pressure Zohran, and then when Zohran caves, translate politician speak to you. Now, if he fucks up, I will be the first person to tell you when he's fucking up. But a man who goes in front of people and says, I'm going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, deserves our fucking support. And if that isn't good enough for you, you are a piece of shit. You are actually a piece of shit. And you know why they're not bringing that up? Because they know everyone hates Benjamin Netanyahu. And they know that Benjamin Netanyahu, if Zohran is mayor, is going to be scared to come to New York. Maybe he'll do it anyway and force a confrontation. Would be fucking based. I would love that. Old people need to shut the fuck up. If experienced people do what the fuck they were doing, the government would be sued for... Yeah, I mean, it's so funny to be like, I want experience, and be like, do you see the world we live in? That's what the experienced people gave you. Why do you want the world that these experienced people gave you? It fucking sucks.
Out about Robert Reich, which is called just that, The Last Class. And it looks at this last semester teaching at UC Berkeley, the course Wealth and Poverty and Inequality. Here's a clip from the film.
I try to be mindful of the world these students are entering. I was talking with some of them recently, and I asked, you're no longer Generation Z. What do you call yourself? What's the generation after Generation Z? What are you? And several of them said, we're the last generation.
The last generation. Robert Reich joins us in our studio here in New York because the film, The Last Class, is premiering this weekend at the IFC. But you are coming at, to say the least, an extremely significant moment in New York's history, in the country's history. You endorsed Mamdani. You endorsed Zohran Mamdani early on. That is certainly more than the Democratic leaders of the city have done, even after this victory. Technically, it's in a week because it's ranked choice voting and the results will come out next week. But he got 43% of the vote at a time when, at some point, Andrew Cuomo was something like 40 points ahead. And I think what Mamdani said is his own name recognition was at 1%, and maybe that was an exaggeration, he said. But the name of your class, Wealth and Poverty, very much signifies the significance of this campaign, the very issues he addressed, where right now, New York Senator Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, leader of the Democrats in the House, they kind of congratulated him, but they didn't even endorse him at this point. Talk about the shockwaves and what you think this suggests for the future.
Well, shockwaves is a good way of putting it, Amy. The Democratic Party really needs to learn this lesson. It's a lesson that over the last 40 years, it could have learned over and over again. But the lesson is very simple. There is a huge anti-establishment wave in America. That's the strongest wave in American politics. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the bottom 60 to 80% of Americans have not seen a real wage increase in 45 years. People are doing a little bit better than they did 45 years ago, but the people at the top are doing wonderfully well. I mean, they're having weddings in Venice. There's so much conspicuous consumption at the top. Wealth.
What do I think capital's response will be to Mamdani? I've talked about this before, is that capital is not united. This is one of our greatest, this is advanced socialism shit now. Now you're ready to talk about stuff like an adult. Capitalism is not one undifferentiated mass. There are fractions and fissures and conflicts within capital, both international capital and national capital. So like international bourgeoisie versus national bourgeoisie. There's industrialist bourgeoisie versus finance bourgeoisie. There's all sorts of fractures and fissures within capital where they have conflicting interests. And this is when socialists are doing extracting concessions, they play along these fissures in capital. All right. There are social democratic capitalists and there are exterminationist capitalists or maximalist capitalists. And you could force capitulation and compromise on all sorts of shit that will make the working class much more powerful. And if you are a person who sits back and go, sounds like reformism to me, I would urge you to look at history and find that revolutions happen during periods of frustrated reform. They happen when social democrats are being blocked by capital in a clearly undemocratic and authoritarian manner, and the state is paralyzed by mutiny and desertion toward more radical forms. That happens best under the power of social democrats. Social democrats are the least capable of actually, doing oppression. Doesn't mean they haven't, and they have succeeded, for example, famously in Germany. But if you look at why the Russian Revolution won, it's because it was in the provisional government. The provisional government is what handed the keys to the Bolsheviks. So even if you believe in revolution, you should want the most soft-hearted fucking social democrat to have the keys of the state so that he hesitates in the moment of decision during a revolution. So even if you're a pure revolutionary, unless you're a dumbass fucking accelerationist who thinks things getting worse is somehow going to be better for the working class, you should be supporting him. You should be smugly saying, I'm supporting Zohran, and the capitalists are going to block him and do undemocratic shit. That would be good for you. Trump winning and then making your fucking organization illegal and then sending you to the fucking Guantanamo is not going to help the revolution kick off. If you have to flee the country into exile, that's not going to help the revolution kick off. It was during the provisional government that Lenin was able to come back to Russia. So learn your fucking history. Even if you're a revolutionary, you should be supporting these fucking soft-hearted sock dems because they mean revolution is more likely. This is a point that I think is absolutely indisputable and actually defeats the only argument against not supporting Zohran. Number one, he attracts way more of the masses. Way more people are attracted to the idea of electoral politics at this point in our development, and it's a massive growth opportunity for left-wing politics, including revolutionary politics. The more people that transition to the left because of Zohran, the more people they would be recruitable from for the radical left. You guys, there is just no debate at this point. And I am a centrist Marxist, which means I am completely neutral on revolution versus reform. I will do whatever works. If the cat catches mice, I'll do it. If tomorrow there was a fucking crowd surging onto every street waving the Scarlet Standard, I would grab a gun and join them. But until that happens, I am working with what I've got. And Zohran, and this is the point, hey, Hugo, and this is the point I love about Zohran, and I should come back on Deprogram to talk about this, is Zohran is doing what the right wing did in this country for 40 years, which is he's using dog whistles and he's using euphemisms to push radical left-wing policy. He's saying, what is it left-wing policy I want to do? Okay, defund the police. Defund the police doesn't test well. People are scared of that idea. How about this? I'm going to hold funding for the police stable, and then I'm going to take the money and spend it on, social workers or whatever. What he's doing is defunding the police because every year you hold the police funding flat, inflation is kicking in and you're slowly defunding the police and you're creating the alternative that defunders want. It is incremental, but that's how the right wing has destroyed social safety nets all over the world, is they've held funding flat and let inflation grind it out over decades. That is exactly how we're going to do it. And Zohran also wants to attack the power of the cop unions, but he's doing it in a way that is more appealing. It's the same thing with Israel. Like, he could say Israel doesn't have the right to exist, but that's not an appealing way of making that argument. And it scares people because they think it means genocide and war. Now, you could argue, no, I don't mean that, but now you're defending yourself from an unpopular slogan. What does he say? He says, I believe they exist only as a state with equal rights for all, which is fundamentally dismantling Israel in the same way that you dismantled South Africa. If Israel has equal rights for all, Israel does not exist anymore. And so he's saying that's why Zionists are freaking out, because they know that. Zionists are freaking out because he checkmated them. They're freaking out that he's an existential threat because he is. And this is a man who defended, he said, I will arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the seat of the United Nations. This is a seat of overseas Zionist powers, New York City. This is a direct attack on the Zionist entity in their stronghold. And you're saying, oh, well, he's not saying it in the least appealing way possible. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? The Israelis tell you we couldn't do this genocide without American weapons, without American support, without American diplomatic cover. And he's saying, I want to remove the support from Israel. And you're like, well, he's not going far enough. He's not saying it in a way that will scare people. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I know I'm spamming, but Zohran has said he will increase hate crime prevention. Crime implies police, so that's not holding spending flat. Yes, it is. Prevention programs are not police. If you know anything about city government, whenever somebody uses crime prevention, that is not cops. That is actually other organizations and nonprofits. That's like saying, I'm going to do crime prevention, and what you do is you give housing to the homeless. You're justifying it on the basis of crime. And you're right. Crime is a very loaded term among, our society. I agree with you completely. This is what dog whistles mean. This is what euphemisms mean. It's like, think about the Southern strategy with Republicans. They used to say N-word, 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 segregation forever. And then they shifted to forced busing and, cutting programs that in effect hurt black people more than whites. They were doing these economic things. By the way, I'm almost quoting Lee Atwater verbatim. Okay. They say the thing for their radical right-wing policy, but they say it in a way to try to be more appealing and euphemistic. We should use that tool of say our shit euphemistically and pursue our policies. And when our policies get good outcomes, we win more. Now, I'm not like, this is just dog whistling. If you hate Israel, Zohran Mamdani is the best person in the entire world for attacking Israel. I want to make this clear. If you hate Israel, Zohran Mamdani is the most dangerous man in the world to Israel right now, outside of fucking like actual people fighting in combat. And they know it.
Has been siphoned off. And it's because the economy is rigged. I mean, I hate to say it. This is the one thing that I agree with Donald Trump about. The economy is rigged, but it's rigged against working class people. And I think Mamdani understood that. He understood that people have got to want a change, but also they want affordability. They want an economy that is working for them. And they want new faces. They want younger people. They want a new generation of Democratic leaders.
And by the way, what I love about him the most is he's getting social liberals to bend the knee to the left. I have never seen a politician that has gotten social liberals to bend the knee to the left and not punch left. That is the most powerful shit I've ever seen.
I mean, one of the winning features of Zohran Mamdani's campaign was a series of interviews that he conducted in parts of New York City that had previously voted Democrat, but in this election went Trump. And I think what you're saying, that this is where you agree with Trump, that the economy is rigged, that in part explains why people shifted from the Democratic Party to Trump, the people that Mamdani spoke to. And he came to see, in fact, that the problem was affordability. So if you could elaborate a little bit more on how you think this was the perhaps determining issue in this kind of surge towards Trump and the Republican Party in the last election.
Well, it's clear that Trump fooled the majority of Americans, or at least a plurality, into thinking that he would be their savior. He would be doing something about prices. He would actually be responding to the needs of average working people. Now, he hasn't, obviously. He didn't in his first term. Remember, the major thing he did in his first term was a big tax cut, mostly for the rich. That's what he's doing now. Again, another big tax cut, mostly for the rich. But he uses the symbols of cultural populism, like immigration, to persuade a lot of people that he's on their side. Now, I'm not suggesting Democrats go in that direction. Quite the contrary. I think Democrats need to go in the direction of economic populism. By
the way, and this is why I love Zohran, He disarmed rad liberalism. He didn't abandon trans people. On the contrary, he's got a very strong pro-trans platform. But you know what? He didn't do this like, I am an Indian man. You must vote for me because I'm Indian. He just is who he is. And he went and talked to those communities in a skillful way to unite them. But he didn't say, vote for me because I'm Indian. He is post-woke. That is to say, he's learned the lessons and he knows the facts about what wokeism represented. He has figured out how to turn it back toward class-based politics.
I just feel compelled to say, we can find no evidence that he has supported Hamas or has supported violent jihad, as that caller was asserting. Can you?
We have got to primary Senator Gillibrand out of fucking office immediately.
Need to talk about the reality, and that is that wealth and income are really almost at a record level, moving to the top.
I legitimately think Zohran is the best politician I've ever seen. Denims has hit 30K. All right, chat. Let's push it. Let's see here. All right. Like we gotta help. I want to fund the people that I've talked to who have said they will not settle with Ethan Klein. And so none of this money will ever go to Ethan Klein because Denims and Kaceytron have told me they will never settle with Ethan Klein. They will not use your money that you donate to these GoFundMes to settle. They have said they are fighting them to the end because they're in the right and he has got no fucking case. He's only trying to beat them down by spreading out money, by filing as many frivolous lawsuits as possible.
And it is no accident. This is because of huge amounts of money spent in politics by big corporations and the wealthy. But what's wonderful, and I think Democrats really should take some solace from this, about the Mamdani's campaign is that you had the biggest war chest in modern American politics against him. You had Bill Clinton endorsing him.
Your boss.
My former boss. Not my boss anymore. And you have the Democratic establishment really making a kind of last-ditch effort to do everything they possibly could for him. And they failed miserably. If there's not a lesson here about people rising, demanding what they want and what they need, and a new generation of Democrats rising, talking to people authentically about what they need, I don't know what the lesson is.
So, I mean, we want to, talk about the fact that you're saying all of this not as someone who's an outsider, but someone who served in successive Democratic administrations. So we'd like to go back over 30 years and turn to a speech you gave in 1994 at the Democratic Leadership Council when you were still the Secretary of Labor for Bill Clinton.
My friends, we are on the way to becoming a two-tiered society, composed of a few winners and a larger group of Americans left behind, whose anger and whose disillusionment is easily manipulated. Once unbottled, mass resentment can poison the very fabric of society, the moral integrity of a society, replacing ambition with envy, replacing tolerance with hate. Today, the targets of that rage, and we see it around us. You can only read the daily paper. You don't have far to look. Today, the targets of that rage are immigrants and welfare mothers and government officials and gays and an ill-defined counterculture. But as the middle class continues to erode, who will be the targets tomorrow?
So that's you, Robert Reich, speaking in 1994 when you were still Labor Secretary for Bill Clinton. You've described this moment as your 1994 warning about Trumpism. So if you could elaborate on that, and also when you came to be totally disillusioned with the Democratic Party.
I came to be disillusioned with the Democratic Party years ago, before I was Secretary of Labor.
God, he's
but
so cool.
These parties, these things called political parties, are no longer what they used to be. They are basically fundraising machines. Donald Trump has made the Republican Party into not just a cult, but a very dangerous dictatorial kind of systemic structure. But let me just say that when I said in 1994 that if inequality continued to widen and the middle class continued to shrink, that we would see a demagogue coming along, what I meant was that we would create the conditions in which a lot of Americans were desperate enough that they would vote for a demagogue. And obviously, Donald Trump did come along. He has fooled a lot of people. He continues to fool a lot of people. He's a con man. We all know he's a con man. But unless the Democrats come up with somebody who's truthful, who has as much or if not more charisma, but is telling people what is actually happening and talking in realistic terms about the economy and power. The word power is a very important word here, and it's not used nearly enough. But the fact of the matter is that most Americans feel powerless. Most Americans feel that they have lost whatever power they had. And that's why I think they were looking for a strongman. This is a crisis right now. I don't have to tell you, you guys are doing a fabulous job. Thank you for what you're doing. But unless the Democratic Party, and we don't have a third party, we're not going to have a third party very easily, unless the Democratic Party really does respond to the moment. And why can't it? I mean, you have Donald Trump there surrounded by billionaires, supported by billionaires, creating a government by, for, and of billionaires. Why is this not the perfect time for the Democrats to emerge as the party of average working Americans once again?
When you were Labor Secretary, you opposed your own president's welfare reform, what many called welfare reform. Now you have the House Speaker, Johnson, saying that perhaps on Tuesday they're going to vote on the budget bill, what President Trump calls, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Others call the One Deadly Bill Act. You have hundreds of millions of dollars in cuts in Medicaid. You have Democrats tinkering around the edges. But what do you think needs to happen at this point? Zohran Mamdani has said the only answer to organized money is organized people. This is a message you've had for decades.
He's exactly right. And this is a time for people to say, no, in a very mass way. I mean, we see mass demonstrations. That demonstration we had recently was the biggest demonstration we've had in recent American history.
No Kings, 5
the
million
No Kings,
at least.
That's right.
Marching in the streets.
But, we're not going to tolerate taking money from Medicaid and food stamps and nutrition and possibly from Medicare as well to give a big tax cut to the richest people in America when they've never been as rich. This is not this is not something that any political person, any political advisor should find terribly complicated. It's not something that any Democrat should find complicated. This is giving the Democratic Party a platter on which to develop a platform. And you see what Mamdani did. This is an era not unlike the 1930s in terms of Franklin D. Roosevelt and the need.
Free buses. He says freeze the rent. He says that kids have to have free childcare. What's interesting is de Blasio, the most popular program he ever did when people were saying, no, you can't possibly afford this, was this pre-K school for kids all over the city, absolutely free. One of the most popular programs in New York City.
Well, you need people. This is not complicated stuff. People do need help with childcare. People are working. Women and men are working harder than ever.
How do you pay for it?
Well, we're the richest country in the world. We've never been richer. Amy, this is what Democrats have got to say. We pay for it by raising taxes on the wealthy. We pay for it with a wealth tax. We pay for it the ways in which, Teddy Roosevelt. You don't even have to go back to Franklin D. Roosevelt. His fifth cousin, Teddy Roosevelt, in 1901, was contemplating and developed sort of a wealth tax in terms of an estate tax. There are things that can be done and should be done, and Democrats cannot be afraid of sounding, socialist, radical. This is the time for sounding a little bit strong.
You're here in New York City for your film, The Last Class, which is premiering at the Quad in New York City. You are President Trump turned 79 on June 19th, no King's Day protests against his big birthday military parade. 5 million people marched. You just turned 79 as well. You're like 5-6 days apart. Your final message on what needs to happen.
Well, I mean, George W. Bush and Bill Clinton and Donald Trump and I also were born within a month and a half of each other under slightly different signs. Maybe that's the difference. But what has to happen is we've got to have a Democratic Party that is not afraid, that doesn't take big money, that says to big corporations and Wall Street, too bad, we are going to represent the people. That's the direction we're going in, and we're not going to hear anything different. And the corporate Democrats, goodbye.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
Sorry about that, chat. You and I were discussing something. I lost track of time. I'm sorry, chat. All right. Well, welcome one. Stephen Colbert, fresh off being absolutely ripped apart. I think I found it. What'd you find? Oh yeah, this speech. Good morning. This speech is so good. I love Zohran. Zohran is, in my view, if he was a born American, he would be the president of the United States one day. And it really sucks that he's not. But he could be Senator Mamdani. And we're going to make him Senator Mamdani. 2028. I know a lot of people are like, no, we need him to be mayor for 2 terms. No. You run when you have a chance to run. That'll be 3 years into his fucking term. Like, shut up. It's more than enough. And being a mayor sucks shit anyway. Did you guys read books? I read a lot of leftism. But what made me, before I became a leftist in college, but what made me become a leftist is life. So I'm one of those people that intellectually, it wasn't reading a book that changed my mind. It was life that changed my policies. He was on your show. He was on your show. Now we're talking about the policies. Why are we talking about Israel? It was requested by the campaign. It's too perfect to be an ambush. What happened is this. Stephen Colbert was given that directive from on high, and he did it. But he didn't really like it, so he didn't follow up. He basically was told, throw him fastball on Israel. And then he just threw it right down the fucking middle of the plate. And a bad batter would not have been able to get the bat head around. Like, the average politician would probably have fucking struck out on it. But because Zohran is fucking Barry Bonds and juiced to the gills, he fucking hit it 500 feet. So you're seeing him hit it 500 feet, but the reality is Colbert was giving him the heater. He was trying to strike him out. So don't, like, because you see the ball hit the fucking bay, don't say, oh yeah, it was intentional. It was he was trying to make him hit a home run. No, he hit a home run because he hits fucking home runs. It was still an attempt to fuck him over. Sports ball, what is this? I'm normal and I could talk about any topic except music. No, I'm kidding. I can talk about music. Not really. Unless it's metal. No, I'm kidding. All right, chat. The Snake went on CNBC to talk about Zohran. Now, did she endorse him before the election? Maybe she did and I didn't see it. Dr. Brain Slug, thank you so much for the 20 tier 1s.
You've heard about soul searching in the Democratic Party, a lot of hand wringing with what we've seen since the election. In the Democratic circles as well, the term lost in the wilderness comes to mind. I don't know whether we had a primary election for the mayor in New York yesterday, 2 days ago. Candidate Mamdani is a self-proclaimed socialist, advocated for defunding the police, globalizing the intifada. We have Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez leading the field for 2028. I'm just wondering whether, well, A, did you speak out for or against the mayoral candidate? Did you congratulate him? And do you think this is the best strategy for your party right now to lurch even further to the far left after what happened in the last election?
You know, I think you're wrong on the whole defund the police and all, but look, I know that this is something that conservatives want to keep raising over and over, but I want to make a different point here. I think you misunderstand what his campaign was all about. His campaign was saying, I want to invest in New York City. I want to invest in people being able to have good jobs here, to put their kids in school, and to build housing. And he built a grassroots campaign. He didn't have a billionaire who came in and funded him. He didn't say, I'm going to make this a great place for billionaires to live. He said, I'm going to try as hard as I can to make New York City a place that works better for your family. And you know what? New Yorkers...
I mean, like, honestly, again, this is a sign chat of capitulation. This is a time for us to just say, I don't want you to insult Elizabeth Warren. I want you to say, I want you to post DSA knee, bend it, DSA knee. She's bending, bend it. And you know what? Neil, part of victory, and this is something the left has a hard time acknowledging, is being magnanimous. Do you know why the communists won in China? Do you know why the communists won in China? During the revolution, they said, if you abandon your masters, if you throw off your chains, bring your guns he gave you so we can turn it against the enemy. And they would take entire armies would switch sides to the communists because they were like, if you switch sides, we will forgive you as long as you join the fight under our command. They didn't say you're in charge. Join our side, you'll be in charge. They'll say, you come in, you join our fight, we're in charge, and you can prove yourself on the battlefield. They made it easy to switch to their side. Meanwhile, on the right wing, they were fucking shooting people and stealing their food and all their money and not paying them wages. And so Mao won because he was magnanimous in victory. So when somebody caves, when somebody bends the knee, rest your hand on their head and say, I will lead you. Now, the moment they try to fucking veer off and do their own thing, nah. Bring them right back. But this is what bending the knee looks like. So enjoy the win. Enjoy it and laugh. Because she's bending the knee to Zohran in a way she didn't bend the knee to Bernie. And that's a sign of strength. Now, don't fall in love and think she's good now or something. Be smart. Know who your friends really are. If she was a friend, she would have said it before the election, not after. This is capitulation.
Heard him. They believed him. They were inspired by him. And I think that's exactly what we should be doing. We should be, as the Democratic Party, the party that makes it clear that we are here for working families. We want to reduce the cost of housing. We want child care. We want our kids to be able to get a good education. The Republicans right now, with this tax bill that they're trying to push through, are really showing the contrast. They think they should be able to pay for tax giveaways to billionaires by taking away health care from 16 million Americans. They don't want to make investments in child care. They don't want to make investments in housing. They want to take away clean energy credits, which will drive up the cost of utilities for families all across this country. There is nothing in this Republican proposal that's about centering families and trying to make this economy work for them instead of for a handful of billionaires. And I think that's a pretty good place for the Democratic Party to go.
Senator, just back to Mamdani, he has some pretty argumentative views that a lot of people have disagreed with. There is some old footage of him saying that if Benjamin Netanyahu were to arrive in New York City, he'd have him arrested. Do you agree with that?
I can't speak for him. I can only speak
I'm
for
asking
myself.
For you.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is the key that we talk about and need to keep talking about is the economy for American families. And that, in my view, is exactly what this race was about.
What are your thoughts on Netanyahu? Because these are some of the feelings that...
Netanyahu has been here. Nobody arrested him. What happens, though, what is happening, though, is that families across this country are struggling. And the response of the Republicans right now in Congress, we will be voting today. The response of the Republicans is let's take health care away from 16 million Americans so they can do tax giveaways to billionaires.
They're telling us we got to get out.
American values.
Now I have to interrupt. Now I'm doing what I said I wasn't going to do, but Senator, we don't have a lot of time left. Do you think he's a socialist? He's a self-avowed socialist. Do you think socialism is the correct path to do what you just said you wanted to do for working Americans? Do you? I mean, that's what he.
Wait.
Need photos of you at strikes and protests. Thank you. Also, some of your glamour shots.
I think legitimately, if we could get her to do it, does she want to?
Ravers for Quan.
You know she does.
No, what is this? You know she does. Look, I'm gonna get all the EDC. I'll get all the I'll get all the EDC heads.
Yes. You can tell when I've recruited many a candidate in my day. And I know exactly what it feels like when the fish is on the hook. Congress. We could literally make it happen. You know she'd be an international superstar if she did it. You know she'd be LA's AOC. You know I'm right. But she's got to commit. What district does she... so the way Congress works, you don't actually have to live in the district to run for one. You just have to live in it after you win. So you can run for any district as long as you live in the state. This is how the Constitution works, actually. Congrats on 10K subs. Thank you. Although we are currently at 10,033. That's pretty good. Also, Tectone got banned. DSA Wilds in the chat, real quick. Tectone got banned. I think he's got to be close to a perma. I mean, how many bans can you get? He's got to be close to a perma. Green Bass Guy, thank you for the 20. Some streamers have 9 bans, to be fair. Well, yeah, no. I mean, bans don't last forever. Like, they fall off, especially if you haven't gotten banned within 6 months. Like, typically Twitch looks at a 6-month period for your bans and decides if you're, like, like, if you're constantly getting banned and you just will not stop being a piece of shit. They really don't like permas, by the way. They really hate Maple Takes. They really don't like permas. Don't I owe you a hot tub stream? Yes, I do. But we're currently on a losing weight arc, okay? I'm behind the curve. It's already like late June. You know, I'm way behind the curve on Beachbody, but maybe at the end of September, I'll have my Beachbody ready. Oh yeah, anyway, going back to what I said.
He said, I need photos of you at strikes and protests. Thank you. Also, some of your glamour shots.
I think legitimately, if we could get her to do it, does she want to?
Ravers for Quan.
You know she does. This is the face of someone that's considering it. And I think she should. I legitimately think that she could. Imagine her going on Hassan's stream. She would raise $1 million fucking dollars. And then California's AOC, the story writes itself. She'll be on the front page of fucking GQ. She'll be on the front. Can you imagine Will? That arm candy? I mean, like, come on. I just need to make sure that I am like chief of staff or some sort of permanent advisor, because I swear to God, I'm going to get fucking Hollywooded. I'm going to convince her to do it, win the fucking race for her, and then she'll be like, okay, bye. I swear to God. He'd have to stop humping random objects. This is 2025. Golden Retriever husband is in. And part of being a Golden Retriever is occasionally humping random objects. All right. The vibes are just impeccable right now, chat. The vibes are insane. The vibes are beautiful. The vibes are amazing. She tweeted she wanted Lita to run. I think Lita Khan should run too. All the random podcasts and Twitch clips that would resurface would be funny. It would be awesome. It's called Millennial Whimsy. It can't be replicated. I mean, this is of all the people in the Hassan orbit, Kwan has the most millennial whimsy. I'm too elder millennial angry. She has the like younger millennial whimsy, but she's not a fucking Gen Z who's handcuffed by like a panopticon of social media. She's still, you know, I'm right. You know, I'm right. It's hard to tell if Mike is simping. Misogyny is a hell of a drug, dude. I just spent the whole stream doing tricks on Zohran, and nobody said I was gay for him. The moment you say something positive about a woman, people say it's simping. The moment you're like, I think my friend could succeed in this amazing thing and it would totally work, and everybody's like, you know, Mike, you're actually cooking right now. Somebody says it's when you're simping. You know what? You're goddamn right. I simp for all my friends. I simp for Kaceytron. I simp for Denims. I simp for Nandre. I simp for Will. I simp for Hassan. I simp for AOC, who's my mutual. I simp for Zohran. I simp for them all. You're right. I'm simping left and right. Who gives a fuck? And I definitely simp for Austin Show. I'm doing splits on it. I've got a fucking like contraption installed so I could spin on it. All right, did we finish this or did I pause it and then forget she exists? You have pure Zillennial vibes, close enough to Gen X to have all the indignation, but the millennial yeah, I mean, I'm a Zillennial. I mean, I was born in '84, chat. Like, that's Zillennial, you know. I have lead poisoning brain too. That's why I'm angrier. Like, I'm the part of the millennial generation that got astray. I didn't get the full lead poisoning brain, but I got astray, okay? Microplastic brain is greater than lead brain. I've got both. Doing splits on it for Austin Show is objectively the funniest thing you've ever said. I'm pretty funny, actually. I'm just not, like, professionally funny. I've got quips. I'm also a little bit more mean-spirited and cutting, so if you don't like that kind of humor, then you probably won't like my humor. Which one of your chatters is this, Mike? Honestly regret. I should have gone. Like, I didn't really think about it till like this morning, and I was like, fuck. I'm like, you know what? For November, I definitely need to go. I really need to go for November. If people want to run for Congress, they need to probably get into it by September of this year. So we need to get our recruiting hats on. I've already got my first person that I'm going to recruit. I've already got my first candidate lined up. Is it Caroline Kwan? Yes. Yes, it is. All right, let's keep going. Mike, thank you for shouting out Kaceytron, Mike. I've been so bummed for her, but her fundraiser is doing really well. I mean, I was only one of many, many people. If you want to donate, you should also donate to Denims, chat. She's up to 3,200. So she's raised like $3,000 during the stream today, which is pretty based. I want to get, okay, so I've spoken with Denims and Kaceytron, and they have both told me that they are fighters and they're never going to settle. All right, so if you donate to these, none of this is going to Ethan. You know, I can say without a doubt that Denims and Kaceytron are fighters, and he picked the wrong people. Okay, he picked the wrong people. Who can we get to primary Glusen camp? Can't stand her. That would be a really good one to primary. The thing about her is she might not be. Listen, I don't want you to do the rad lib shit. See, Democrats do this thing where they make their politics about people they hate as opposed to fighting the people that they love. If you're on the left, you need to find people that we love and then find them targets, right? You shouldn't be going after people that have national name recognition because they're going to be harder. You need to find the Zionist who's 80 years old and has $100,000 in the bank. Oh, that reminds me. I'm going to be talking to Kat soon, chat. Remind me. I've been kind of busy, so I haven't been able to, you know, we've been ships passing in the night. I want to be able to go all in for Kat. I just need to talk to her and chide her a little bit. And then, you know, have a conversation, and maybe if she comes on the stream, we could do an endorsement. I haven't talked to Frogan yet. I mean, you know, listen, I only talk to I'm not trying to involve myself in people's shit people ask me to help them raise money, then I will help. You know, I raise money for those people. Kaceytron was going through it a really hard one yesterday, so we pushed her. Today, I talked to Denims last night. She was feeling, you know, I said, hey, I'll try to push your stuff as well. I want people that are going to, you know, make sure that they're really fighting this. You know, I don't want to raise a bunch of money and have it be handed to Ethan Klein so then he can then use that money to sue more people. You know what I mean? That's the last thing I want. So as long as a person is saying to me, hey, I will not settle with Ethan, that I at least have their word, right? I at least have their word. And so when they ask me to help, I ask them that question. Are you planning on using this money to settle? If they say no, I'm going to fight this because it's wrong, then I'm all in behind them. So Denims and Casey have already asked me, and I've already talked to them, and I already know this. And I'm sure I'll feel the same way with anybody else who asks me to help them. You know, I'm not trying to attack anybody else. I'm going with the people that ask me for help, you know, because that's all I can do. I don't want to be officious. I don't want to insert myself in places that I haven't been asked. So please consider supporting Denims fundraiser. I think we did. How does Casey's doing? Casey's is fucking killing it. She's at 35,000, 36,000. Look at that refresh. So yesterday she was at like, what was she at when we started fundraising for her yesterday? I want to say she was at like 15K. 9K? Was it that low? I don't know. I seem to remember her being at like 15K. So she's already raised massive amounts, and she went viral on Reddit. I kind of want to make a post on TikTok to try to push these fundraisers too. So as long as, you know, a person says they're never gonna fucking settle, that's the important thing. Because if I don't ask that question, and what I'm really worried about is like, listen, being sued is scary, and you have a lot of desire to just like, you know, make it go away. And if a person wants to just make it go away and they're going to use your GoFundMe money, I can't tell you to donate to that. So these people have promised me they're fighting their guts out. So I'm going to fight my guts out for them. So please also, you know, Casey's fucking killing it. So please, you know, obviously we've already gotten, I think Denims has raised a few $1,000s during this stream. So if we could get her up to 35,000, that would be fucking peak. If we don't, we don't. Can you message Hassan and privately ask them to bring more attention to their fundraisers on stream? My general feeling is that I'm going to try my best to get everybody who is able to support these. I don't want to really comment on individual people because I don't think it's fair to them. All right, did we finish this Warren shit, or did we get to the end?
He is. Let's just talk about, and we're the center of the universe for capitalism in New York City. And Wall Street, whether you love it or hate it, I know.
Why is Ethan a vicious person? Because he's going through what's called a narcissistic crisis. So with people that have really bad, untreated narcissistic personality disorder, one of the worst things you can do is make them feel like they're under threat, or their persona is under attack. So when a narcissist has a narcissistic crisis, they engage in what's called a narcissistic smear campaign. I encourage you to go do some reading on this. I've talked about it before. Basically, they try to destroy people who they think are a threat. And eventually, depending on what their comorbidities are, like if they have sociopathy or they have low empathy, they start to become vicious, and they start to mentally embody a villain. And so this is a mental health spiral. And because he's rich, a lot of parasites are just going to feed off of him and take advantage of his emotional state, while everybody normal is going to distance themselves. And as you can see what's happening to Ethan Klein, that's exactly what's happening. It's like a lot of vicious people are coming to Ethan and feeding off of him, and they're kind of encouraging his crash out, while all the parasites, you know, all the yes men and the parasites are just gonna suck him until he's dry. And when he's out of money and his popularity wanes and he no longer gets the views and everyone's bored, they're gonna leave, and he'll be left with no one. The crew will be loyal as long as they're getting paid. The moment they're no longer getting paid, they're gonna rush out here and condemn him to try to get your guys' support. And I just want you to know that my being magnanimous, it's over. Like I'm never going to help these crew members. They're stuck with Ethan forever, as far as I'm concerned. Fuck them. If they try to quit and run out here, maybe we'll use them as lolcows for a week, But as far as helping them, fucking die as far as I'm concerned. Fuck the crew.
It has a connotation in certain areas, but it's the financial engine for all the great things that happen in the U.S. in terms of the private sector and raising money for companies and the stock market. All these great things that provide all the jobs, that's where you get the tax money to spend on all these great things you want to spend it on.
It's weird. When I talk to Ethan about Ethan on TikTok, people be like, I don't even like Ethan, but insert Ethan defense. He's a lol cow fighting their anti-woman battle. Yeah, the incel communities are using him. The right-wing discourse and reactors are using him. The anti-leftist and anti-Hassan, like, they're all just using him. And again, he's only interesting as so much as he is providing that value. But it's boring. You know, you can only watch so much of this same shit. You know what I mean? Like, I grew from Ethan Klein, but now I'm talking about Zohran. I had my best stream in a while talking about Zohran, not talking about Ethan. Like, gives a fuck. He ain't shit. He ain't fucking shit.
You think that's the right thing for New York City?
You don't have to push me. I believe in markets. I love markets. I think markets are fabulous when they're honest markets. As you know, because we've had these discussions before, for example.
And by the way, chat, this is why social liberals are stupid. Markets are a tool. Sometimes they're effective. Most of the time, they have serious problems. So if you're going out there and just, I like markets, you are doing an ideological statement.
We need markets with rules. Markets without rules are just theft. And that's part of why we need strong antitrust enforcement. But what our new mayor, I hope will be mayor-elect in New York City, is talking about is how to make that economy work for families. Where is your outrage over a Republican Party that is saying we want to fund even more tax giveaways to billionaires? We want to make sure that Meta gets a check, if this bill passes, for $15 billion, not for anything they do in the future, but for investments they made 3 years ago. We want to give them a check for $15 billion while we take away health care from everyone else, while we drive up utility costs for everyone else. That's not how we build a strong economy. You believe in markets, then you should believe in participation by the employees so that they get some of the wealth that they help create. And part of that means that through government, we create opportunities, not just for the billionaires to be able to come in and help build these buildings, but also to the workers who help build them as well. That's
Senator
what
Warren.
this whole fight is about.
I have one of the most insane pieces of news I've ever seen in a hot minute. Okay, that's a weird fucking story. I'll have to look into that more. Sneeko showed up and got kicked out. Man, Sneeko is one of those people, like Ethan Klein, who got into the Destiny circle and then became a fucking like psycho right-winger, because that's all. Destiny is the wide end of the funnel for the far right. And now he's like some sort of like non-white, white supremacist, internet troll, anti-Semite, you know, Muslim revert. And he's just the most embarrassing content creator on the internet. What the fuck did they do to him, man? Sneeko is dressed like he just left Rikers. That's lame. Oh, like, come on, man. Like, come the fuck on, dude.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris.
By the way, chat, I hope you don't mind that I'm just like vibing out and doing endless Zohran content. I'm just enjoying the big fucking W and how it just proves everything I've said right. This is Mike Vindication decade. I wish I had honest interlocutors that would just admit that I was right about everything. You know what I mean? How come none of the people who hate my guts are honest? It's so fucking terrible, dude. Shai posted this on his story. Lower income areas where income is lower than 62,800. Cuomo plus 13. Middle income 62 to 117 plus 10. High income Mandami plus 13. Despite branding himself as a champion of the working class, Mondami's base told a different story. Cuomo won lower income precincts by a wide margin. Mondani carried both middle and higher income areas, winning the wealthiest by double digits. This is just simply a sign of a machine. The machine was on Cuomo's side. It is what it is. And this is a terrible performance for Cuomo. This is a young assemblyman versus a 2-term governor with fucking Bill Clinton and billionaires behind him, and he barely won. Pathetic. All right, hold on. I really want to see. Can someone send me Fox News overreactions? That's what I want.
Hayes, today, every Democrat who holds office in the country woke up to the possibility of a primary challenge next year because of what happened last night in New York City. Zohran Mamdani, a 33-year-old state assemblyman, 3 terms, Democratic socialist, is going to be the Democratic nominee in the largest city in America, New York City's mayoral race in November. In fact, he'll be joining Jen Psaki at the top of the next hour. You're going to want to stick around for that. It's hard to see the results of this race and not take a step back and look at what this means, not just for the future of the Democratic Party in this country, but I would even say more importantly, the existential question of whether that party, the opposition party, the pro-democracy party at this moment, is up to the task that this moment demands. Mamdani's success last night tapped into the seismic dissatisfaction we see in poll after poll among the party base with the political establishment and status quo. The young Muslim immigrant born in Uganda, son of an acclaimed filmmaker and a college professor who came here when he was 7, toppled a multi-generational political dynasty here in New York, delivering a crushing defeat to the state's disgraced former governor, Andrew Cuomo. In hindsight, the knockout blow came during a televised mayoral debate a few weeks ago when Mamdani took Cuomo to task over his many, many scandals and for his steadfast refusal to just pronounce Mamdani's name properly.
To Mr. Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records, and I have never done those things because I am not you, Mr. Cuomo. And furthermore, the name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it because we got to get it right.
Mamdani's margin of victory in the first round of New York's ranked choice voting was more decisive than even, I think, his most hopeful supporters were hoping for. And that's because he built a real coalition, multi-generational coalition of voters along lines of race and ethnicity, religion, class, who stood up and rejected Cuomo, and more broadly, I would say, the political status quo that he had come to represent. Now, at some level, it's a news story, but it's really important to keep in mind this is something we have seen before in politics. In fact, happens quite a bit. 2 candidates that come to mind that are the most successful Democratic politicians in my lifetime, Presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, both kind of, came out of nowhere, young, dynamic, shook up the establishment. In fact, in his endorsement of Mamdani today, New York Democratic Congressman Jerry Nadler, who's been in office for decades, said that Obama's victories in 2008 were the closest possible comparison to what we saw last night. Now, of course, President Bill Clinton, President Barack Obama, they were very different figures, ideologically speaking, and even in
Yes, they were actually liars and far-right figures. And people are going to get triggered. I said they're far-right. Okay. Right-wing. Obama was probably the biggest charlatan that has ever existed in American history. Bill Clinton was at least pretty open about his politics. Obama was an outright political charlatan. I actually think he did tremendous damage to politics in this country. There is no Trump without Obama. Without Obama, the charlatan, you don't get the nihilism that leads to Trump. Like, that's the facts. And if you still like Obama, you're wrong. There's really nothing more to say. I can get into it if you'd like, and I've repeated myself a million times. Without the charlatan that is Obama, without the failure of his entire political program, there is no Trump. Obama was handed an FDR-style mandate, and he offered us warmed-over DLC third-way moderation. And he oversaw the slowest recovery to a recession in American history because of it. And by the way, and every time he's interfered in politics, both in this nation and abroad, he's done damage. He's actually probably the most politically maligned force on the center left in the entire world. And a lot of people suffer from Obama delusion, which I don't know how to fix.
Their backgrounds, where they were coming from. But the key thing here is that, like Mamdani, they did represent palpably, even to voters that are not like super invested in politics, like an obvious kind of generational shift against the status quo, against the party's old guard, against the political old guard. Clinton and Obama were both considered long shot candidates when they first announced their intentions to run for the presidency. The 2 men managed to put together winning coalitions in large part by rejecting a party establishment that was seen as increasingly out of touch with voters.
Make no mistake, this election is about change. Change in our party, change in our leadership, change in our nation. I believe we need a new kind of leadership. Leadership not mired in the politics of the past. Leadership not tied to the old ideologies.
I recognize that there is a certain presumptuousness in this, a certain audacity to this announcement. I know that I haven't spent a lot of time.
Ugh. I really hate this man. He is just so fucking gross. Especially when you see what he became.
I'm learning the ways of Washington. But I've been there long enough to know that the ways of Washington must change.
Good at what they were doing, right? Talented. Now, for some reason, the Democratic Party sort of en masse seems to have forgotten just how important that is in politics, to run like really genuinely talented candidates rather than...
What do I still say to libs who idolize Obama? Say that you finally found a candidate who reminds you of Obama, but is actually strong on the policies. It's substantive. Shift the conversation from talking about Obama, the old has-been, and start talking about the future. Say, doesn't this guy remind you of Obama? He's so cool. And then move the fuck on, because there's no winning. There's absolutely no winning.
The reins, the people who've simply waited their turn. That strategy has proven pretty catastrophic. I mean, Hillary Clinton is a talented politician in her own right. She won the nomination in 2016, but chiefly it was on the argument that it was kind of her time to serve. And she lost to Donald Trump. And then despite pledging to serve as a bridge to a new generation of leaders, Joe Biden, again, who in his time is a very talented politician, made the shockingly short-sighted decision to run again in 2024 before dropping out the last minute and handing the nomination to Kamala Harris, next person in line, with a very short time frame. But even after those defeats, so many figures in the party establishment seem to still fail to get the message. It's how we got guys like South Carolina Congressman Jim Clyburn and Bill Clinton himself telling voters that a disgraced 67-year-old former governor is the future of their party instead of an outsider candidate who did really manage to inspire voters. In politics, you gotta try new stuff, right? Like Bill Clinton did that. Barack Obama did that. Lots of different folks of different ideological stripes have tried it. It should serve as a wake-up call. The party needs to elevate voices from outside the establishment, elevate new voices. Bernie Sanders may have fallen short in the 2016 campaign, but he also had that kind of effect on certain cohorts, particularly young folks, a once-in-a-generation realignment with the Democratic base. And that campaign inspired a young bartender from the Bronx, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to unseat an establishment Democratic congressman here in New York, which was also a crazy upset. That upset victory in 2018 in turn inspired Zohran Mamdani to run for the New York State Assembly 2 years later. To be really clear about how crazy this all is, right? Like what a big sort of out of nowhere win this was. A few months ago, Mamdani's victory would have been basically inconceivable.
Ian Hersey Ali says Bill Ackman for mayor of New York. This is your brain. This is your brain on right-wing grift. I want him to do it. I want him to do it. I want him to do it. Oh, please do it. Oh, God, do it. Oh, please, God, do it. Oh, it'll be fucking awesome. Oh, God, it would be so awesome. Please. Please. I love right-wing grifters sometimes, man. It makes me feel fuzzy, dude. Right-wing grifters are some of the funniest people on the planet, dude. Fuck, that's so awesome, man.
I mean, he faced a massive uphill battle to get where he is today. An Emerson poll from February of this year showed him with 1% support. 1%. He had to overcome a barrage of really ugly Islamophobic spheres, $25 million in negative ads, all due to his longstanding, unflinching pro-Palestinian politics and his criticism of Israel. And he also faced real skepticism from lots of Jewish New Yorkers who have seen anti-Semitic attacks in this city and vandalism, and who go to synagogues week in, week out with security watching over them. But Mamdani overcame the odds by running a really, really, really good campaign. And a huge part of it was just staying relentlessly laser-focused on one issue. Like Bill Clinton's "It's the economy, stupid," or Barack Obama's message of hope and change, or even Donald Trump's "Make America Great Again." Effective branding. Mamdani ran on one consistent principle: make New York City more affordable. And he also did an excellent job of finding voters where they are. His first viral video was a video outlining his plan to lower the price of a New York City staple, which is like food from halal trucks, which had gone up. He masterfully gained the attention economy from that point on, much like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. In 2024, he cast a really wide net. essentially never declining a media appearance, whether that was a conversation with the Centrist Bulwark podcast, or an interview with an Urdu language news channel, or just a fun video with the popular internet talk show Subway Takes.
Do you make $1 million or more a year?
100% disagree.
So then your taxes are not going up. The only taxes that we are proposing are on the 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year.
What are you going to do about the price of matcha lattes?
100% not sure.
I mean, they're $9. Dude.
I only want to make
this is you can win this campaign easily if you lower the cost.
Matcha lattes are $9. Go to fucking Costco and get yourself a big pack of fucking organic matcha powder and make your own, you lazy fuck. Jesus Christ. Stabby Baby is in a movie, a new movie. I love that he won because he used laptop pitch from establishment Dems. Next time we'll make sure Kamal uses the TikToks. Here's the thing that you have to understand. This is an ideological civil war. The ideological civil war is happening. I was a person that advocated for a dirty break. Unfortunately, the people in power don't want to do it. And in the context of winning the most important municipal election in the United States and arguably the world, and getting a person who messaged the New York Times to tell them, don't call me progressive, call me a socialist. The guy who made a campaign pledge to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, a guy who said he only supports Israel if there's equal rights for all, which forces Israelis to defend racial hierarchy and look like insane ghouls. The guy who is out there arguing for expansions of the social safety net and citing Claudia Sheinbaum and citing Nelson Mandela, but not in a pussy way, in a real way. Like, he is legitimately 100,000 quadrillion % one of us. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. You need to learn the difference between a sympathizer and an opportunist. He is one of us. He is one of us. Could he betray us? Anytime you trust another human being, they can betray you. We need to build institutions that make betraying us painful. Instead of relying on the individual morality of a politician, you build institutions that produce politicians that align with you and then scare them when they don't. We want to make it rational for a politician to stay loyal to us. That's what power is. It's not about selecting the nicest guy and hoping he remains nice. It's about creating a system that produces nice guys and then disciplines them when they don't. Now, that being said, there's always going to be disagreement over what should be disciplined and what shouldn't. And that's the hard work and the muddle of politics. And it'll never be fully satisfying. It's like the sex of your fantasies versus the sex that you have. Okay? Our goal is to make the sex that we have the best that it can be. But it'll never measure up to your imagination. Okay? Like, come on.
I can only make the promises I can keep.
What Mamdani did in New York over the past few months shows that there really are solutions to these problems that have caused Democrats so much frustration and despair and sort of infighting since November's election. I mean, Mamdani thrived with young men and in immigrant communities across the city. Remember, this is a city that swung hugely to Donald Trump, this city, in 2024, just less than a year ago. Now, of course, Republicans are champing at the bit to smear Mamdani, to tie him to the future of the Democratic Party. In fact, in between his NATO meetings and travel, Donald Trump already posted calling him a communist lunatic. But again, New York's a strange, distinct place. It remains to be seen how much the specifics of Mamdani's campaign can be replicated across the country. It's also clear he tapped into something special.
We dreamt in the night, and we are now building in the dawn. That new day, the one that we have yearned for, the one that we have struggled for, the one that we have knocked for, have texted for, have called.
Have you guys seen his campaign manager's speech before? We should really watch it. Because if you watch his campaign manager speech, you'll understand that these guys are far left. Just the way she speaks, the way she talks, the way she talks about politics itself. She's fucking goated.
For the one that we have obsessed over. That new day is finally here, my friends. And it is here because you have delivered it.
Bill Ackman's daughter probably voted for Zohran. And the other thing, chat, I want to say this. AOC did not have to endorse Zohran. It would have made us hate her, but she didn't have to do it. It would have made me hate her guts. I would have said she fucking sucks. She's a piece of shit. But she didn't have to do that. And she put her reputation on the line for him. She campaigned for him. She said, fuck you to the machine. And they won. And she finally said free Palestine at his rally the other day. She's called it a genocide, but she finally said free Palestine at a rally the other day. He's making her better. She's not the only big popular left winger in New York now taking shots from every fucking angle. She has a huge ally now. So that's another W for us. Eloise Ackman says, went to college, became a Marxist cliche, hashtag cliche, sorry, at Harvard College. Ackman left Cambridge to join the managerial class. He started a hedge fund and became a billionaire. He didn't spend too much time thinking about his alma mater. He gave a little money in the 90s, earmarked for Holocaust studies. In 2014, he funded a Center for Behavioral Economics with a professorship in his name and tossed $5 million to the crew team. What a stereotype, dude. His nephew enrolled at Harvard, as did his daughter. Like $5 million to the crew team? Come on, man. What the fuck do you need $5 million for crew? What the fuck? If you get one boat, like you get maybe 2 boats. Like what the fuck do you need $5 million for? What the fuck? She became like an anti-capitalist. Like practically a Marxist, Ackman said of January, leading across a large conference room table at the offices of a hedge fund, Pershing Square. We talk about capitalism, and she would freak out at the table. She had chosen to write her thesis on the concept of reification in the Western Marxist thought, having come to very different conclusions than her father about how the world should work. Wow, that's so funny. Ackman said it felt as though she had been indoctrinated into a cult. He bought her a copy of Das Kapital as a present for her graduation. But in hindsight, it was an indicator, but I didn't know if it was just my daughter or what. I didn't think like the biology department was involved. He bought her like a really like first edition version of Das Kapital. That's fucking... What? This should be in a fucking museum, man. It's great she wrote this fucking thesis or whatever, but the idea that this shit should be privately owned by some failed daughter is so fucking offensive and pisses me off. That should be something that we all can look at and enjoy together. Ugh. Yuck.
So UPenn didn't have quotas, so it had a large number of Jewish students. When I went there in the 90s, Jewish students thrived there. Like the 5 towns of I felt like I was living in the 5 towns of Long Island when I was there. Jewish students felt no threat, and it's the same today. The problem for them is that it's a more diverse student population where South Asians, Arabs, people who are from countries where they don't just get brainwashed on Israel are coming in because they're scoring very well and performing very well. You know, they're on their way to being engineers and so on. And they are leading activism that didn't exist during the 1990s when I was there. So how do they stop it? Just define it all as hate speech, define it all as genocide, and campus presidents fired if they will not crack down, because the Zionist appeal is not to the people. They don't have people to appeal. They don't have a real base to appeal to. It's always an appeal to authority, to either assassinate someone they don't like, or to assassinate their character, fire them, destroy their careers, dox them. And that's what they're doing with these campus presidents.
All right. Z Squirrel. I love the Z Squirrel. Z Squirrel, like, I see myself in Z Squirrel. Like, there's a few people that are out there who I really like, but are like, okay, how do I say this? This sounds really bad, but they help me stay sane because they go a little bit further than me on shit that's pissing me off. And I can kind of like look at how they're acting and be like, you know, I could just be a little bit calmer. You know, I could be a little bit less polemic. But I like them. I love them. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just like they let me kind of calibrate myself because they exist. I don't have to go and fill that space. You know what I mean? The squirrel is necessary. Bad empanada is necessary. All right, we need Fox News shit. Fox News. We need Fox News reacts. We really do. I need more Mamdani videos. Where are they? What the fuck? Why are there so few videos? They're fucking scared. Okay, there's one.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful here. You know, I don't waste time, and I definitely don't waste money. I joined Start Engine.
We are back with a Fox News alert. Socialist Zohran Mamdani declaring victory as the new Democrat nominee for New York City mayor after former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo concedes.
Inspired them. I called him. I congratulated him. I applaud him sincerely for his effort.
In a speech to supporters, Mamdani laying out his vision for the city.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
The primary now heads to a ranked choice count beginning next Tuesday after no Democrat got the majority of the vote.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Let's bring in New York City business owner Richie Romero to react to this. What was your initial reaction when you heard about this victory?
Honestly, I didn't sleep because I had to talk a lot of people off ledges last night.
He should just run this as a fucking ad. Guys, you have to look at this clip. You have to look at this clip again. Fox News says that Zohran's victory makes them suicidal.
Heard about this victory?
Honestly, I didn't sleep because I had to talk a lot of people off ledges last night that were calling me nonstop, moving out of New York, etc.
Really? What were they saying to you?
They're in fear of, what's going to happen with the economy and everything. I look at it, we got to see what's going on with the general election, but it really comes down to it is we need a mayor that's going to reinvigorate the economy and have common sense, and he just doesn't have common sense policies.
So you don't see Mamdani as a...
what a great argument, guys. He doesn't have common sense policies. What am I going to... Wow, you know what? That is so tightly argued. What can I possibly say other than subscribe to the channel right now so that we hit the daily sub goal? We drop below 10,000 again. Feels bad, man. For one glorious moment, we were above 10,000. This is the worst part of being a streamer, chat. Is every day is a treadmill. Every day you wake up, you realize, oh fuck, I don't have a job unless my viewers want me to have a job. It's like, fuck. What was the last streamer goal for emotes? It's at 10K. Abdar Brent, thank you for the prime. We have more emotes that are coming. I'm working on a DSA ADHD. Every time I get distracted or forget what the fuck's going on. I'm getting a bunch of other emotes. There's a DSA feeder coming. We have more. We have more coming. Where's the Zohran emote? We can't. It's against TOS. By the way, chat, we are one sub, gift sub, resub, or 200 bits away from a hype train. The top sub gifter and the top bit donor during a hype train get the conductor badge next to their name, which is a golden locomotive that then becomes a purple locomotive you get to keep forever. I make 65K a year. I should give this guy making 500K a year money. I wish I made 500. I don't. That'd be great, but I don't. You should give me money because the more money I have, the angrier right-wingers get. My favorite thing is when somebody making $65,000 a year argues in favor of billionaires.
As a pro-business candidate, and you're not the only one. Take a look at this Free Press headline. It says business leaders say they'll flee New York City if Mamdani wins. Bill Ackman says it only takes a handful of successful people to leave to decimate the city's tax base. And this is an ex-post from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who said, just when you thought Palm Beach real estate couldn't go any higher. That's his reaction to Mamdani being up in the polls before he won, which he did. And this is because Mamdani right now plans to raise the corporate tax rate from 7% to 11.5%. How does that sound to you?
It's awful. What do you think is going to happen? Everyone could easily relocate now. People aren't in offices. We need to do a marketing campaign in general in New York just to get the skyscrapers filled with office businesses in here. So who's going to pay for all these things he wants to do with all these freebies?
Yeah, well, I love the business.
I love this idea that who's going to pay for it? The answer is the rich people that make money from the city, who have billions of dollars. We're going to take some of their money and we're going to use it to make the city nicer. It's called investing in the city. And when the city's nicer and housing is cheaper, it'll attract more investment and more people, which means more economic activity, which means more taxes, which means more investment. And we can keep making the city nicer and nicer and nicer and nicer for more and more people. That's called development. That's called the economy. What makes a country powerful is the generations of investment and improvement that have gone into it. You benefit from the effort and labor of people that are long dead. Do you understand that? That's what makes you a nation. That's what makes you a people, is that people planted trees and then died, and you live under their shade. They cleared harbors so ships could sail and bring you goods. They ripped up rocks and tree roots to make fields to be farmed. And when they died, those fields remain for us to enjoy. That's what a country is. That's what a nation is. It is investment and infrastructure over generations and generations. And that is what has lifted us up from the slime that you want to return us to with your nihilism and your austerity. You want to mortgage the work of our forefathers and foremothers and 4MBs and turn it into fucking tax cuts for Bill Ackman. You cowardly shit. Fuck you.
Businesses that you run in New York City. You have a bakery that I used to go to all the time, and it shut down. Is that because it is so difficult to run a business in New York City?
It is. And that's one thing that he keeps bringing up, you know, that, oh, we could have these dollar stores and do all these things. You can't. It's simple economics of supply and demand. You can't pay $30 minimum wage and then want to do dollar pizzas and have business run. If you, in 1 hour, you have to sell 30 slices of pizza. You're not paying for it. It's just simple economics.
So I see your I Love New York t-shirt. You clearly love New York in this city. What would you like to see take place?
Listen, I have a very simple thing to how to make New York work. It's the biggest problem is, like, he won mainly through TikTok. And you got to realize most people, responsibility makes you mature, not age. And he's letting people just get they want the freebies instead of.
You know what's a freebie? Some fucking fail son charging. They bought an apartment building 20 years ago, and their mortgage cost per apartment is $1,000, and they're charging $5,000 a month. You fucking dumb rat. That's who's living off of freebies. You fucking scum.
Really wanting to be like a mayor should be like an expediter of dreams and break through it. And we have to break all this red tape that's in New York. Like even all the different things.
That's literally what he talks about, you dumb piece of shit. You fucking loser.
DOH, people waiting for Con Ed, for DOB and everything. They're all on different tech platforms that don't even talk to each other. And the biggest thing that we need is, and that's why I'm wearing the I Love New York, is we need a real marketing campaign for New York. We need trade shows in Javits Center. You got to realize, like, even the international.
None of that, by the way, is even left-wing shit, you dumb fuck. He would support probably that idea, but that involves taxing the rich. Where are you getting the money for the marketing campaign, dummy? You got to tax the rich.
It's conventions in Vegas. We did a restaurant convention. They had it in Javits. It was only 2,500, 3,000 people. Yeah. 50,000 in Chicago. We need that. We need businesses in the tree and all the skyscrapers.
Well, clearly you're very passionate about this issue. I mean, this is a stunning swing to the left after the general election where the country said that they were going more to the right. You were up all night talking people off the ledge because of this win. Hopefully you can get some rest because there still is the general election in November. Richie Romero, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Carly.
All right.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
This is the best Chipotle order. I would like a bowl.
Triple wrap.
Mild, medium, hot.
Then dip it in here.
Sour cream inside the vinaigrette. 2 tortillas. If you know, you know. Lettuce, cheese, guac.
Yes.
Oh, that is good.
In Washington.
I have the best Chipotle order, chat. But I'm not going to fucking tell you what it is and give them free advertising more than I already did. God damn it.
That is where Congressman Robert Garcia of California has been elected as the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee. Serving in just his second term in Congress, Garcia has quickly risen through the ranks and has emerged as a young leader for Democrats, as per our previous conversation, as they weigh what's next for their party. And Congressman Robert Garcia of California joins us now. As noted, he's now the ranking member of the powerful House Oversight Committee. Congressman, congratulations on your...
Disgusting, dude. Texas man born to U.S. soldier at U.S. Army base abroad deported. He has no citizenship in any country. He arrived in Jamaica, a country he'd never been to, a stateless man. Wow. I have to like read and process this story, chat. Like
election. Let's start just right there. What are your goals for that role?
Well, good morning. Well, first, obviously, very grateful to the Democratic caucus for entrusting me with this, not just important responsibility, but the work ahead of us to hold Donald Trump, his corruption accountable, to hold corporate power and those that are trying to harm the American public accountable, and to look at reforming our government to make it more efficient and effective for the American public. We have a huge agenda in front of us, and that's ensuring that we are doing everything that we can to protect the American people. We see what's happening around the country. We're seeing what ICE and Homeland Security are doing to terrorize people across this country. We see how billionaires are trying to rip off the American people and the middle class every single day. And oversight in our committee is at the heart of what Congress is about: transparency, oversight, and good government, and we're excited to get to work.
So, Congressman, let's get your reaction to the breaking news a few moments ago. The Senate parliamentarian casting out much of the health provisions and some of the Medicaid cuts.
So I wonder, are the Republicans going to use the parliamentarian as an excuse not to do policies that they don't want to pass? Are they going to do what the Democrats do and be like, listen, if I repeal Medicaid, that's going to fucking destroy me in the elections, so I'll use the parliamentarian and be like, oh, we couldn't do it. Are they going to do moderation to the Republican base? Are they going to do to Republican base what Democrats always have done to them? Because they all understand that cutting Medicaid would destroy the fucking country?
In the so-called big, beautiful bill there in the Senate, obviously it's going to have to get reworked. It's going to eventually find its way back to the House.
We cut it in the House, and there's rumors that they're trying to take it back out. But I think we have problems with the parliamentarian. She's, I don't think she's, I think she.
How stupid the average Republican rep is. Look how they're dumb. Look how they're fucking inarticulate idiots.
She's political. Mm-hmm. And I think that we should consider seeing her being replaced. We have to be no more Mr. Nice Guy. This is a war we are in to save our country. And the left is aggressive, and we need to be just as aggressive back. My good friend Erwin Lutzer, he said, evil never retreats on its own, only when it's confronted by a more powerful force. And we need to quit being so wimpy. We need to be a force against evil, against bad ideas, and against their parliamentarian or whoever is trying to take a wrecking ball to the big, beautiful bill.
Have the vibe shifted so hard that the GOP budget bill is going to fail? All right, chat, what are we at with Denims? Okay, we're at 31,400. All right. Not bad. Get in there and donate.
Democratic colleagues are having about this development?
Well, I think the Senate's finding out what we in the House, the Democrats already know. This is a horrific bill, much of it unconstitutional. A lot of it will not pass through the parliamentarian. And the Senate now is struggling with this idea that what this actual bill is trying to do is to rip away health care for 16 million Americans. It's trying to take away food assistance for low-income families across the country. And the parliamentarian is right to strip out these provisions. And we're going to see what the Senate's going to try to do. But at the end of the day, every American should know that this bill is all about taking away health care and then giving away a huge wealth transfer to the richest people in this country. The only folks that are going to benefit from this plan is billionaires and large corporations with the massive tax breaks that are going to be in place. And so the Senate's going to have a hard time trying to defend and support a bill that is taking away health care, and the parliamentarian is absolutely correct.
Congressman, can you talk to us a little bit about your plan to exercise oversight and some transparency into the operations of ICE? Americans across the country are disturbed by seeing some of their longtime neighbors swept up by masked police force, essentially, on the streets, violations of people's constitutional rights. What kind of oversight can you provide? What is the plan to do that? And especially just being in the minority, can you talk about what you're able to do?
Look, let me just start by saying that I'm an immigrant.
Impeach Trump?
Chris Cuomo, finally, meltdown. The meltdown for the Cuomos is in. Okay, here we go. We finally got it.
How do you keep them from having the nuke? Impeach Trump is the opposite of having a better idea. You're killing your party. You're killing your party. And look, I hope it works out for you. I hope you guys splinter off and become, whatever you really are. Because you're not a capitalist and you're not a Democrat. And, you can say, well, what do you know? I was raised by a real one. I was raised by a real one. Go ahead and criticize Mario Cuomo. What's going to be your biggest insult? That he spawned me and Andrew? Is that going to be the best you have? Because you ain't shit compared to him. Not in terms of intelligence, not in terms of success, not in terms of pedigree, not in terms of philosophy, not in terms of mission.
Pedigree.
Not in terms of eloquence, not in terms of charisma, not in terms of anything. Certainly not electability. You are killing your party because you are not a real one. Because you're doing what's good for you in a vacuum with your little social media following. You're no different than a pod bro. And you're killing your party. And Democrats better wake the
bro. You're literally a pod bro. You're in a pod studio. This is what my room's gonna look like if I do a bad job. If I do a job like a bad job setting up my fucking room, it'll look like this.
Fuck up and realize that you're better than this. Be with the 80, not the 20. Okay?
Schumer, lowest favorability in 20 years of Siena polls. AOC, Siena's best favorability rating this month. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has a 39-49 favorability rating, down from 45-41 in February. This is the first time his favorability rating has been negative since June 2024, and the worst it has ever been in a Siena College poll dating back to February 2005. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has a 47-33 favorability, up from 38-39 the last time Siena asked about her statewide. A first in a Siena College poll, Schumer is 10 points underwater, with a plurality of voters viewing him unfavorably, while he continues to be viewed unfavorably by more than 2/3 of Republicans and a majority of independents. Schumer saw his standing with Democrats, particularly liberals, fall dramatically. Democrats view Schumer favorably 52-38, down from 68-23, and he's still viewed favorably by a plurality of liberals 47-41, but he's down from 68-21. New York City voters are barely favorable 47-44. Among 8 elected officials in each house of the state legislature, AOC has the best favorability rating. She's viewed favorably by 64% of Democrats, more than Hochul or Schumer, and she is viewed unfavorably by 60% of Republicans. Independents are evenly divided 39-39, Greenberg said. While Schumer's 5th term runs through 2028, Ocasio-Cortez has established herself as a New York Democrat to watch. And AOC's main issue is she's not actually that well known by regular, like she's certainly one of the most well known, but she is not even that well known. She hasn't been given the true presidential level attention. And going from like 70% of people kind of know who you are to 100% of people really know who you are is a big jump. If there's any group of people that know her the best, it's literally Fox News people that have spent the last 8 years obsessing over her sexually in a very uncomfortable way. Tell them what they love to tell us. Vote blue no matter who. David Hogg is literally, I see my, like, oh God, this is so cringe. But I had the same kind of experience as David Hogg 11 years ago, which is when I realized that the Democratic Party doesn't care about winning. The Democratic Party is about a grift. It's about a small group of people and their hangers-on seizing power for themselves and being corrupt as fuck and making money and using good people who want to see the world be a better place for their own advantage. And once you actually realize that Democrats don't even care about winning, then the radicalization begins. And the one thing that's super radicalizing is Republicans do care about winning. We have one party that wants to win and one party that doesn't give a shit. That's why our country sucks.
The well-known Democratic strategist James Carville said in response to this announcement of this plan that you have to primary Democrats, he said that the DNC should sue you and called you, quote, a contemptible little twerp. What is your reaction to that?
That is my reaction. I would also say James Carville has not won an election since before I was born. I think it's time to have new leaders in our party that are ready to meet this moment, because a lot of the people that are most critical of this plan are the same ones that had $2 billion to win an election and still lost. So I think the experts can save it because it's time for some new ideas.
Polarization. All right, chat. This is, I'm going to spam the Denims fund. Make sure you go ahead and donate if you guys would. Appreciate all of you. I'm gonna call it there. Here's all my links. Don't forget to watch the Tickety Talks I have a new TikTok I posted that I want you to check out. Right here.
Mike from PA had a good take on this when he was on Noah's stream the other day.
What are your, I guess, when you're looking at the landscape of electoral politics, are there any candidates in specific that you right now are giving you hope?
I really do like Zohran in NYC right now. I've been supporting him, funnily enough, since 2019. The other thing I would say about people with politicians is understand the difference between a sympathizer and an opportunist. A sympathizer is somebody who believes what you believe, but they use dog whistles and they shade it and they try to, they're triangulating for acceptability, but fundamentally they're with us. And somebody who is an opportunist who's just trying to use the movement for their own gain and they believe in nothing. Zohran is a sympathizer. Somebody like Pete Buttigieg, Gretchen Whitmer, Andy Bashir. These are examples of opportunists. They don't believe in what you and I believe. They're just going to use various social media trends to try to get attention. And so I don't expect sympathizers to say exactly what I would say when I would say it. I let them have a little bit of space so that they don't get completely discredited as being an extremist. I don't expect them to go out there and say destroy the Zionist entity. If you're expecting a politician to say that in America in 2025, there's never going to be a politician you could ever work with. I don't know if that